どうぞ。はい、皆さんこんばんは。お豆腐だけではお腹が好きツッキーです。皆さんはいかがでしょうか。ちょっと待って、ごめん。二重になってる、20。何も聞こえないと思ったらイヤホンしてない。ちょっと待ってね。よし、イヤホン OK。 やまびこもうなくなったでしょ。大丈夫でしょ。ちょっとお豆腐はお腹すくよ。お豆腐だけはお腹すくね。じゃあ続けていきたいと思うね。エピョマサさん、ワイドさん、アキハロー、サミダレくんいらっしゃい。やまびこにしてただ、みやさんいらっしゃい。続けるもん。お腹すいたから。お腹がすいた僕は続けるんだ。何のこと？豆腐しかないんだ。豆腐しか買ってきてないんだ。僕は。知ってたかい？なんかいっぱいありすぎるけど脅迫状調べ何もないじゃん。僕はね、俺の豆腐しか買ってきてないんだよ。何？
Detective Poirot, how is your investigation coming?
Monsieur Sterling, I must admit, I have learned much more than I was expecting to.
ちょっと待って、これ聞こえる？ Can you hear?
You'll be wrapping the case up soon, then.
Hello, Papa Bear.
One has never finished learning, monsieur, and in this case, I shall need to continue if I am to find the Major's killer.
そうだ、そう続けなきゃいけないんだ僕は。
It might help to vocalize your thinking. I'm all ears.
はい。ムッシュ・スターリングの意見は興味深い。ありのままを伝えなかったとしても、今の消費者じゃないよ。捜査状況を話せば、正体と手口を解き明かすまで、あと少しであることを犯人に気づかれてしまうだろ
う。Monsieur, would you gather the guests and staff in the salon?
Right away, detective. Can I ask for what reason?
そうよね。
I shall reveal all once everyone is together.
私には水しかない。豆腐と水しか。OK。Chapter 6。操作ってパパベから習ったの操作忘れちゃった。なんだっけ。私どこ？
Detective, what is the meaning of all this?
Madame, I ask that you all lend me your ears for only a few moments. What I have to say is of great significance to everyone. You are all invited here to celebrate the engagement of Mademoiselle Angeline Vandenbosch and Monsieur Gédéon Demire, the coming together of two prevalent families. But the celebrations were short-lived, as Major Felix Egan was found dead in his study by a young servant of the house. It then became my responsibility and obligation as a detective to uncover the truth behind his demise. My initial examination of his study exposed a number of things I did not expect to find. Things I have no desire to divulge at this time, but what I can say is this. It was no simple murder. A letter demanding ransom for a continued silence confirmed this. I am sure some, if not all of you, have heard whispers of a series of blackmails that have plagued the social elite in recent weeks. After hearing of the letters in the Major study, you may ask if it was him behind the letters. You may further ask if he was preparing his next threat to another unsuspecting victim. It is a question that crossed even my mind. That was until I sought the truth. That in fact it was the Major that had fallen victim to our blackmailer Mystérieux. Last night I spoke with you all, confirmed your whereabouts in the house over the course of the evening, and while I would have expected such questioning to reveal a potential suspect, what I learned was that it could not have been one of you.
What do you mean, not one of us? The man was stabbed. He hardly did that to himself. There is still a killer in the house.
Pardon, monsieur, if you would allow me to finish. It could not have been only one of you. Rather a partneria, a partnership, in cahoots, if you will. Conversations today have revealed facts that I was not expecting to discover. And although they may have muddied and complicated my investigation, what I must do to bring the guilty parties to justice has become clearer. Those of you that spun stories in an attempt to confuse and derail my investigation have made a grave mistake in underestimating my intelligence. Other detectives may fall for such deception, but I can assure you, Detective Poirot is no such fool. My investigation is far from over, and swift justice shall be dealt to those that have committed such appalling acts and have continued to mislead and lie to protect themselves. Now, I must continue mon enquête, and I shall leave you to consider that you may be beside a cold-hearted killer. Bonsoir. Monsieur Sterling, un moment.
Quite the speech, detective.
本当だね。
Merci, but it was not made to entertain, more to warn the guilty parties that I am hot on their heels, no matter how clever they believe themselves to be.
なるほど。
Well, if there is anything I can do.
昨晩あなたが書斎に戻った時、以前と何か変わった点に気づきませんでしたか？
Nothing. But I was so preoccupied with the major. Sorry, detective. Should
Perhaps it was just my mind playing games again.
maybe one of the guests got lost and wandered in.
そんなことあるわけないやろ。もし客人が道を間違えただけなら、まず少佐の寝室に入ることになる。さらにドアを開けて先に進もうとはしないはずだ。そもそも迷い込んだわけではないのなら話は別だが。少佐の書斎の金庫を開けられるのは誰でしょうか？
Master Hagen had a key, obviously, and Lady Vandenbosch.
ムシュ・デミールは間違いなくアーチボルトも合鍵を持ってると言っていた。自分も鍵を持っていることを忘れるとは考えにくいが。金庫を開けられる人物といえば、あなたも以前に中を見たことがあるのでは？
When requested, aye. If something is required from there when Master Hagen is not around.
Forgive me. If he is not around, how is it you access the safe?
It's not what you think, detective.
What I think is that you have been trusted with a copy of the key, and you have lied to me about it.
I only lied because of the trouble I can get into with Lady Vandenbosch.
隠すなよ、刑事に。
At this moment, monsieur, you should be more worried about the trouble you shall find yourself in with the law.
I know how it will sound, but I lost my key. I must have set it down somewhere, and it has been tidied away. Master Hagen asked so rarely for me to go in the safe, I didn't think it would be missed.
ムッシュ・スターリングが鍵をなくしてたというのは偶然が過ぎるように思える。少佐の金庫が開けた人物は文書を漁っていたが、マダム・バンデンボッシュの秘密に関わる手紙をそのままにしていた。犯行の目的が不明瞭だ。伯爵夫人について聞いておかなければならないことがあります。
I should have said this morning. I'm sorry.
はあ、先に言えよ。
Monsieur, I am not quite sure you understand the severity of what has happened.
I am well aware, detective. I just thought she would be able to help.
誰？
Would you allow a man with a smoking gun to remove his bullet from a victim's chest?
I suppose not.
ムッシュ・スターリングが単に私を手伝うつもりだったのは分かった。だが私の捜査に影響を与え 与えかねないことをしでかしたのは間違いない。客人の寝室を操作したいのですが。あや
Is
ほら
that really necessary?
The murderer remains at large, and there is still no sign of the weapon. I would say that makes them essential.
そうでしょ、当たり前でしょ、バカ。
Of course. I still just cannot imagine any of them being guilty of his murder.
どうやって出てくんのよ、バカ。
It may be hard to imagine, but it is the truth. I would like to begin my searches now. Since it is closest, I will start with the west wing.
I may not be back when you return. Here is the key to the other rooms. Please return it when you're done.
Merci. I shall guard it with my life.
まず伯爵夫人を訪ねることにしよう。ご婦人からなのね。誰が犯人かと考える前に単独犯か複数犯かを確かめなければならない。共謀の証拠を見つけ、凶器を探し出すための絶好の機会が巡ってきた。じゃあね、アーチボルト。バイバイキン。バイバイキン。伯爵夫人。あ、これ図書館じゃ、図書館だった。もう一個上じゃん、もうバカ。西館ってどこかわかんないよ。西ってなんで上になるの？上ってだって西館ってどこ？西って右左？こっち？あ、まあ入る前に私だと知らせた方がいい。
Entrez?
あれ？伯爵夫人のとこってここ？伯爵夫人の部屋だ。そうする前に断っておかなくては失礼に当たるだろう。なんでイケボ出したん私？
Detective, what a pleasure. I did not expect to see you in my chambers.
In a purely professional capacity, I can assure you.
There is no need to act so stiff, Detective.
Madame, after the revelation of your actions last night, I'm afraid my sense of humor is all but gone.
I will not apologize again for merely trying to help. Shall we get straight to it then? Let us not waste your time any further, Detective. なんでこんなこと聞くの？昨日あなたが若い使用人の一人と話しているのを見ました。That would be Inga. She has been one of the most promising young women that has come from the shelter. あ、言ってたね、インゲね。
Madame Vandenbosch took in a young lady from your shelter.
There is no need to sound so surprised, Detective. She does have a heart.
I did not mean to sound so cruel. I just did not expect Madame to hire someone of that background after the incident with her previous maid, Florette.
Ah.
People change, Detective. You should not judge someone on their past actions.
来ないで。
Believe me, Countess. I know that only too well.
仕事を紹介したシェルターの女性は多いのですか？
We wouldn't be doing a very good job if I could only help one girl. I in fact found work for one of them as a maid in Monsieur da Silva's house recently.
ムシタシルバー。
She has fitted into Monsieur's home well.
What is better, Detective? That she remained in an abusive house, or she is able to rebuild her life with an honest wage in a prosperous house?
When put like that, is she happy in her position?
The happiest she has been in years. I check in with them all as often as possible. And if there was a problem, I would know.
なるほどね。 より良い未来を築ける女性が増えているというのは喜ばしい。それが実現したのも伯爵夫人の力添えがあってのことだ。あなたが献身的に行っている女性の支援は素晴らしいですね。実にご立派です。
Be careful, detective. That almost sounded like a compliment.
すいません。
It is your actions in this house that have been questionable, madame. Your work outside is something that many more could take note of.
We do what we can.
Merci, madame.
じゃあ失礼します。じゃあ失礼します。
Huh.
またこれかい。また見ていたいでしょ、どうせこれ。
Ah.
見すぎだって。
Oh.
また同じだって。金庫、救急箱。
Oh.
救急箱には救急処置用具が入っている。包帯、絆創膏、消毒液、数本のハサミがある。あ、もともとそっか。ナースなんだよな、この人。一回の贈り物だ。もてなしへのお礼の品だろう。
Oh.
屋敷の周りの田園風景の上に雪が積もり、白く美しい毛布をかぶってるようだ。どうでもいいじゃん。
Huh.
植物は生き延びるためにお互いに寄り添う。我々人間にも学ぶべき点があるな。どうでもいいよ、そんなの。ねえ、そんなのどうでもいいんだよ。もっといいもの見つけてよ、本。幸せな二人の婚約を見てロマンチックな気分になっている人物がいるのだろう。そうですか。蓄音機。現代の技術は驚きぶきものだ。家にいながらにして音楽を聴けるというのは実に楽しいに違いない。経験に違いない。だけ？めえ、何もねえじゃねえかよ。マーゴはエルネストがメイドを探すのを手伝った。マーゴは女性向けシェルターで働いている。あ、ないじゃん。マーゴに話しかけるじゃん。マーゴ。
Go ahead, detective.
ひょっとするとあなたが少佐の遺体を調べた件で、私は少々軽はずみな反応してしまったのかもしれません。
A compliment and now an apology. Well, detective, you certainly have changed your tune.
There was something I was still unsure of. You mentioned that your training was some years ago.
From my days as a nurse, oui.
If that is so, why would you have brought several pieces of equipment usually found in a physician's bag?
ほんとね。
One must always be prepared, detective.
Prepared? At an engagement celebration?
If I had not brought them, I would not have been able to assist you last night. Perhaps you should be thankful for my precaution and not so suspicious.
そもそもあんなものを持ってこなければ、こうして質問する必要もなかったのだが。
Merci, madame.
本当よね。なんであなたこれ持ってきてたの？ゼロじゃない。こっちかしら。ゼロだな。お？ゼロ。じゃあ失礼しちゃってもいいかしら。
Ah.
これ同じだから別にいいのか。他には何もないよね。何もない。失礼。守りの方はジャクリン・コンラッドか。 部屋を捜索する前に少佐との会話について聞いてみるとしよう。また。はい、ジャッキー。
Detective, what can I do for you?
Mademoiselle, I am sure you understand my reasoning for such intrusion.
If it's going to clear my name, be my guest.
If you wouldn't mind answering some questions, it can hopefully be cleared faster.
まずはあなたと少佐との関係について聞かせてください。めっちゃ直球。
Like I said, he's not the man he wants everyone to think he is.
Oui, but how is it you came to that conclusion?
You don't really want me to recount every conversation I've had with him, do you?
There is one particular I had in mind.
あの口論について教えていただきたい。
An argument would imply it was a two-way conversation.
And that is not how it was?
Here it is. I've been helping Angeline get exposure, her marriage to Gideon is big news, and his work is really paving the way for others. I saw the chance to get their names out there, and he didn't like it.
あ、そっか。嫌がってたもんね。
What was there not to like?
Your guess is as good as mine, Detective. But if I had to, I'd say he was jealous it wasn't his name at the top of the article.
And his reason to storm off?
Oh, you know about that. Let's just say I didn't accept his pathetic attempt to get me to stop the story. If you're gonna try and pay someone off, at least make it worth their while.
少佐はマドモアゼル・アンジェリンを応援するものとばかり思っていた。彼女の有名になることを歓迎しないその態度には何か理由があるに違いない。この話題にはもううんざりかと思いますが、ムッシュ・ベッカーズの件で。
You've really got a fascination with that guy, huh?
I would not say fascination. An interest, perhaps.
Well, I'll save you the bother of trying to find out more about him. He's not that interesting. In fact, he's a bit of a wimp if you ask me.
That is not the impression I got of him.
That's because you've only seen the side of him he wants you to. He knows what to say in front of the right people. But behind closed doors, he's clueless.
空っぽとはどういう意味ですか？
Let me guess. The first thing he told you was that he was a union leader. No, the voice of the people.
A man that is proud of his work is not something to be sneered at.
Don't get me wrong, he has a way with words, and he can certainly rally a crowd. But that's about it. At the end of the day, he's a representative and nothing more. He's got to play the part, not just learn the lines.
マドモアゼルはムッシュ・ベッカーズはあんまり高く評価していない。彼女は強く独立した女性だ。だから腰抜けとまで言うのは不当な人格攻撃だろう。
Merci, mademoiselle. I shall leave you to relax.
Sure thing, Detective. And if you change your mind on that exclusive about that shooting...
If I do change it, you shall be the first to know.
まあ、ジャーナリストだからね。どうでもこれに触るとろくなことない。ザッキーは自室に間に合わせのオフィスを設営している。常に仕事を持ち歩いているのだろう。ミスター・アルティーグがベルベットティックルを出る時を目撃されている。金曜の23時15分。ガンブレ家は近隣の土地で密猟している。獲物はイノシシしか噛むマギーが追う予定。ミセス・ボンでは夫が若いメイドと夫婦のベッドで関係を持っているところを目撃した。メイドからの証言が必要。ミスター・ドゥノーはカラスがレオポルド王の悪口を言うのを聞いたそうだ。無礼なカラスだと言っていたが、こちらからしてみれば話からして疑わしい、怪しい、うさんくさいと言うべきだろう。月曜までにフランシスから覚書が来る予定。いろいろあるんだね、仕事ね。大変だね。 同じじゃん。リンゴ。ここ調べる。なんだこれ。ポケットナイフ。これはジャッキーのものだろう。いいネタを追っていれば危険な状況に飛び込むこともある。行きたい。そうだな。ここには興味を引くものはないようだ。新聞。最近の記事も含まれている。記者はジャッキー・コンラッド、エルネストの工場に関係した暴動の記事だ。平和的なストライキが一転、最前列での暴力行為で死者。市民の心に暗雲を呼び、労働者階級の間で高まっていた機運をくじく悲劇的な事件が市内で発生して以降、一帯は非常線から張られ、現場には多数の警官が動員されている。事態の主導権は工場所属の警備隊の手を離れ、法執行機関に委ねられている。どこだ？適切な賃金と労働条件を求める戦いが白熱する中、労働者たちは道具を置き、すべての機械を停止させ、共に肩を組んで団結した。市内全域から労働者たちが応援に駆けつけ、工場に雇われた者たちが始めた平和な抗議活動は、階級間への闘争へと姿を変えていた。現時点では未確認であるが、暴力行為に発展したのは支援者たちの第2波が到達した後だったとの情報がある。人数はまだ公式に発表されていないが、暴動の中で8名の労働者が命を落としたとみられている。活動の最前線にいた労働者たちはベルギーの労働者階級を代表とみなされてきた。彼らは屈辱的な低賃金で重労働を行うことを拒絶した人々だったのである。ラルー所長によれば、暴動及び市民の死亡事件は調査中であり、公式発表は後日行われるとのことである。ジャクリン・コンラッド。なるほどね。まだ蓄音機。分かってるよ。ひひだ。これで、ジャッキーに話しかける。ジャッキー。Hey, ジャッキー。
Go right ahead, detective.
ムッシュダ・シルバーと少佐が一緒に仕事をしていたと驚きました。
All Felix cared about was money and filling his pockets with it. That's why he got into bed with De Silver.
なるほど。
The Major was not in need of money, though.
Need and want are two very different things. Did he need to move here and leech off the Madame? No, but he wanted to.
彼らの共同事業についてご意見を聞かせてください。
As far as I know, De Silver hired him to work security. He was worried what could happen to his precious factories if things got ugly.
And your reporters were there to cover the story when it did turn that way.
My reporters go where there is news to be told.
And you predicted the violence that occurred?
Anyone could see that was gonna happen. If you ask me, Hugo should have acted sooner.
Merci, mademoiselle. I shall leave you to relax.
ないね。こっちもないかな。こっちもないね。さよなら、マダムいっぱいすぎてわかんないよ。ここがマドモアゼル・アンジェリンとギデオンの部屋だ。ここで何か見つかるだろうか。誰もいないよ。引き出し。ここには興味を引くものはないようだ。ないのかい。写真。以前の二人はもっと仲が良かったようだ。最近の様子は単なる見せかけの可能性がある。ギデオンとザカリアが協力したことがあり得るだろうか。あ、弟か。 昔は仲よかそうって何？良さそうなのにね。
Aha.
私の部屋と間違いそうなほどだ。片付いてる。
Ah.
さぞ多くの旅行計画が地球儀の中身を味わいながら立てられたことだ。どうでもいいし。どういうことだし。どうでもいいし。これまた時計どうでもいいことしか言わんし。これまたどうでもいいことしか言わないし。これもダメだし。西棟の客室はすべて操作した。東棟2階の客室に向かうとしよう。どこかに凶暴の証拠があるはずだ。ちょっとこう待って。なんもないんでしょ、どうせ。ないよね。分かってたよ。知ってたよ。東これ東じゃない。これカサンドラ。東ったらこっちでしょ。少佐はどうでもいいわ。今は。こっちだ、そう。あれ、物置あれ、ちょっと待って。3階か。3階ね。あれ ?3 階ってどっから行くの ?3 階ちょっと待って、3階って。待って、3階って。ここ下に降りるだよ。あれ ?3 階の行き方はねえ。ねえ、3階が行けないよ。ねえ、どうする ?3 階が行けれないよ。3階、階段なくなった。ねえ、ねえ、階段なくなったから、小3の書斎に行く？階段ある？だってここ見たから関係ないもん。どうしたらいいの？あ、3階の、あれ ?3 階のホール？どこ、あれどこ行ったらいいの？東に行けばいいの？これ行けないって書いてあるよ。あ、行けたし、嘘つき、私。東だからこっち。なんだっけ。お箸持つ方、いや、君。
Mademoiselle, we meet again.
Bonjour, Monsieur Poirot. Pardon, Détective Poirot.
Just detective is quite all right.
行けまし
Bon,
た。
can I help you with something?
この屋敷で最初に少佐の遺体を見つけたのはあなたでしたね。
I was taking him a plate of food, but he didn't answer to my knocking.
You then entered the study.
I did. He wasn't moving. He just lay there.
I did not mean to upset you again. Seeing him there would be troubling for anyone, and I'm sure it is not a memory you wish to relive.
でしょうね。他の証人とあなたの関係についてお話を伺いたいのですが。
I suppose we're like a family. We argue, but most of the time we get along.
そうですか。
You must all be quite close then.
Some more than others.
You refer to whom, mademoiselle?
Well, Maman He, sorry, Rihanna, she's been here the longest, and she's very close with Lizzie on account of Luke.
なるほど。マドマゼル・エリザベスの亡くなった婚約者がどのように関係するのですか？
Maman He is Luke's sister. You didn't know that?
ルークのお姉さん？ルーク
I thought she would have said. She talks about him all the time. It must have been awful, losing him in those riots. Apparently, he was right at the front when they were charged. They didn't stand a chance. If I had been the one responsible for his death, I wouldn't want Maman He looking for me.
Mademoiselle Rihanna, Maman Ray, she has expressed her desire for revenge.
Every time she talks about what happened.
ルークの死に関する情報がこんなにも長い間私の耳に入らなかったのなぜだろうか。 弟の死は間違いなく動機になる。マドモアゼル・レハナと話した際には攻撃的な印象は受けなかったが、機会があれば復讐心のままに行動するような人物なのだろうか。立ち入ったことをお聞きするようですが、あなたはどういった事情で女性向けシェルターに？
I guess you wouldn't know anything about life on the streets.
知りません。
It is not an experience I have had to face personally, but I understand that many are forced into it, and the lifestyle that comes with it.
The lifestyle of a thief, you mean?
Put rather bluntly, oui.
You are the first officer that has not taken one look at me and pulled out their handcuffs.
Mademoiselle, I can see you have turned your life around, and I commend you on your efforts.
Without the Countess, I would probably be rotting in a cell somewhere.
伯爵夫人に忠義を感じているのは明らかだが、それも当然のことだろう。そう当然だろうな。陰芸の関与ね。陰芸は以前告訴されたことあるんだ。じゃあ失礼。お嬢さん。お嬢さん、ここは何の、これキッチンだったね。はい。ここで東ってどこだ？ここ南だよ。東どこ？お嬢さん、東はどこかな？東はどこかな？ここ違うだ。ちょっと待って、なんかある。これ何？東ってどこ？ねえ、東、こっち西でしょ？あれ、これジャッキーの部屋じゃん。あれ？東？あれ、東って、あれ、なんでこっち南なん？なんでねえ、なんでこっち東じゃないの？ザカリアの部屋、なんかとりあえず入れたからいいや。ムッシュ・ザカリアも弟と同じ無害な人物のように思える。部屋を捜索する前に話をするべきだろう。ムッシュ。
Monsieur Demir, I hope you are feeling better today.
仲悪かったっけ？
Nothing a good night's sleep couldn't fix.
そうですか。
Très bien. I wonder if you would be up to discussing certain matters with me.
Whatever you need.
弟さんとあなたの過去について話しました。
I bet he had a lot to say. He always did have an opinion on the war.
When I say your past, I refer to your past as brothers.
Okay, well, what did he say?
It seems you both had the same sentiment for this party. Perhaps the bridges that you thought were once burnt are in fact primed to be reconstructed.
We'll see how probable that reconstruction is going to be. Until he sees my point of view, I don't know how we can move forward.
What is there for him to understand before the bond can be repaired?
He lost his friends in the war, the same as everyone. But somehow he has forgiven. I'm sorry, Detective, I can't. And Gideon just doesn't understand that.
なるほどね。ムッシュ・ギデオンと交わした兄の精神状態についての会話を踏まえると、どちらにとっても和解が最善だろう。だがムッシュ・ザカリアはまだ何かを話していない。仲間や友人や仲間たちの死が彼に重くのしかかっているのだ。焦燥の板を扱ったことでかつての感情を思い出させてしまったんなら謝罪いたします。
I lost my taste for death a long time ago, but it had to be done. I'm certainly in no rush to be carrying a dead body again, though.
Most understandable. I shall extend the same gratitude to you as I did to your brother.
You've spoken to him already. How is he?
まだ話してないよ。
Perhaps that should be a question you ask him yourself.
Yeah, maybe.
弟さんがサロンで伯爵夫人と話していました。それほど親しいとは気づきませんでした。
Those two, close.
They must share something in common to be able to hold the conversation for the time they did.
If there is one thing I know about my brother, it's that he will not. No. He cannot be rude. He just doesn't have it in him.
Was it not your brother that punched Monsieur Hagen?
Ah, that's different. He was asking for it. If you put my brother in a room with 5 socialites like her, he would work his way around every single one of them, offering his full attention and finest manners.
Merci for your assistance, monsieur.
ムシュの部屋調べたっけ？この部屋はひどく散らかっているな。灰皿のすぐそばに吸い殻が捨てられている。ちゃんと灰皿に捨てないとやけどじゃなくて火事になるよ。気をつけて。装飾付きの探検、ザガリアンの従軍時代のものだ。なんでそんなもの持ってきてんの？蓄音機もいいよ。窓ももういいよ。植物ももういいよ。ザガリア、もう一回お話ししないかい？
Always got time for my favorite detective.
捜査中にとある品が見つかりまして。
The dagger. I wondered how long it would take for that to become an issue. It was going to be a wedding gift for Gideon. I've maybe not been the best brother in recent years. I thought this could make up for some of it. After what happened to the major, I thought it was a bit tasteless.
そうね。
You did not see it fitting to tell me you were harboring a rather sizable knife in your room?
I wouldn't say harboring. And I wasn't expecting to be a suspect in a murder.
まあね。
Merci for your assistance, monsieur.
じゃあなむしと思ったら。あ、1個ある。凶暴の証拠がないかゲストルームを調べる。ポケットナイフ。新聞の束。でもさ、ここにさ、
Come, my little
違
Gracer.
うの？ギデオンの部屋は片付いている。ギデオン。マーゴは準備を整えていた。ギデオンとの仲を修復するのをためらっている。
Things are beginning to become clearer.
デミール兄弟のよそしい態度から協力して行動するようなことはないと考えていい。だからこの二人は違うね。ってことね。オッケー。ここにもピピって出た。なし、オッケー。じゃあ、さよなら。ムッシュ・ベーカーズの部屋だ。彼は不在だ。しっかり捜査させてもらおう。ムッシュ・ベーカーズ。ムッシュ・ベーカーズ。ヒューゴのノートには、エルネストの階段についての走り書きがある。興味深い。それだけ？どんな走り書きがあるかとか。ないの？ちょいのちょい。
Huh.
こう兄弟が多くてはヒューゴも親の気を引くのに 苦労したことだろう。多いね。多いね。確かにね。親の気を引くのに苦労したっていう言い方もどうかと思うけど。ちょっとこれ撮りたいね。なんか落ちてるよ。落ちてる。メモ。何かの演説の原稿を書こうとしていたようだが、完成しなかったらしい。これはヒューゴの行動パターンに合致するのではないだろうか。覚悟を決めた人間の力を見くびらないでいただきたい。あなたの部下たち、あなたはこの事態を終結させられる立場にある。我々は与えられるべきものを求めているのみだ。あなたが部下を撤退させない場合、それに匹敵する力で抵抗を受けるだろう。暴力などに屈しない。あなた方の武器が我々の肉体を打ち据えても、この心を精神を傷つけることはできない。我々こそこの偉大なる祖国を築き上げ、これからも築き続ける者たちなのだ。金で魂を救うことなどはできない。ちょっとだけならできるかもしれない。あ、ポットい。あ、勝った?よかった。よかったよ。捨てられた紙。ヒューゴのノートは、エルネストの階段?エルネストって誰?ヒューゴのコードパターン?こういうことか。
Magnifique.
ジャッキーのヒューゴに対する見解は本音だろう。彼女はヒューゴを高く評価していない。ヒューゴに協力する人物はいるんだろうか。ヒューゴに協力する人物ね。ヒューゴにポケットナイフ、新聞の束。ギデオンはマーゴに対し礼儀が正しい。マーゴ、あれ、マーゴどこ行った?マーゴいた。エルネストって誰?マーゴは、ギデオンへの贈り物。マーゴは準備を整えていた。これとか
Is there something I am not?
違うよね。アーチボルトはマーゴが言ったを調べるのを確認して、
I cannot see the logic in this.
わかんないよ。ギデオンとは無理だけど、ギデオンは、でもこのおばちゃんは、これとこれやったっけ?
I must act on thought.
あれやってないの?ギデオン。これだって。ヒューゴに協力する人物。
Another success.
ヒューゴとエルネストはお互いのアリバイを証言した。2人が共謀して少佐を殺した可能性はある。その裏付けは見つかるだろうか。裏付け？裏付け？難しいよ。販売人ムシュダシルバーの部屋。Hi.
Monsieur de Silva, I am sure you understand the necessity for this type of search.
Not really, Detective. Your speech was rather spirited. But it did not give me much faith in your investigation.
釣れないわね。
I have not had my abilities questioned to my face by one of those I suspect of a crime before.
本当よ。何を言ってんの？私に向かって。
Well, if you wish to prove me wrong, you should hurry up and find Felix's killer.
あなたかもしれないじゃない。
And I hope, with your help, monsieur, I shall.
マダム・バンデンボッシュから亡き夫とあなたの仕事の話を聞いたのですが。
Yes, I helped him invest some money. Unfortunately, he was not the businessman he thought he was.
はい。
Madame Vandenbosch had a very similar view. At least he could have taken solace that you are both in the same position.
I think you're confused, Detective. It was Edwin that lost his fortune, not I.
Forgive my naivete. If you were helping him make viable investments, would you not have seen the same opportunity for yourself?
I told him about the opportunities. I did not tell him to put his whole family's wealth into it. The prospect of doing good meant more to him than his profit margins. He was bound to fail.
全部やっちゃったの？バカな男だね。
The business declared bankruptcy.
It did, until it was purchased for a fraction of its worth and made the new owner a small fortune.
なんでそんな一発勝負みたいなことするのかね。ムシュダ・シルバーの無慈悲な面が見えてきた。子爵は少なくとも前向きな変化を起こそうとしていたようだが、おそらくムシュダ・シルバーの冷酷さに気がつけなかったのだろう。昨晩マダム・バンデンボッシュについてお話しした件ですが。
Everything that I want to say on that matter has already been said.
I understand, monsieur. But what I would like to know is, was the late Viscount aware of your feelings towards his wife?
Excuse me, Detective, but you have crossed the line.
Crossed the line like an attempt to bankrupt a business partner and friend so that you'll be able to swoop in and impress a certain target of your affections.
You make such ridiculous accusations without a shred of proof.
Your reaction at the mere suggestion is proof enough, monsieur. While I cannot arrest you for betrayal of a friend, I can hope your conscience does not forget, and that will be punishment enough.
ムシュダ・シルバーの行動は犯罪ではないが、嘘や謀略を罪に問えるなら確実に終身刑に値するだろう。かつてそこまでのことをしたがある人物がもう一度同じようなことをしない理由があるだろうか。今度は対象が少佐だったのでは？あなたと少佐と組んで仕事をしたそうですが、少佐の財政状況についてはどこまでご存知ですか？
He didn't have much to speak of. I was always surprised at the life he lived.
Surprised in what way?
Well, considering it wasn't that long ago he came to me asking about work, I didn't think he was in such good financial shape.
You offered him a position.
Nothing that he was willing to lower himself to. That's when he began talking about what else he could do for me.
少佐はあなたの工場の警備を担当したのですね。
If you can call what him and his team did security. For the money I paid, I did not expect them to be so reckless.
It was a considerable amount you paid him?
There's no need to divulge amounts, but it was certainly more than was expected.
ムシダシルバほどの神腕事業家であれば、賞賛の仕事に見合う額で合意するものではないだろうか。なぜ賞賛に相場以上の額を払っていたのだろう。賞賛の警備隊についてお聞かせください。
He said they were all professionals, but I saw nothing of the sort. He said he had worked with them all in the army as their superior officer. They were men that could be trusted.
But that was not the case?
I had not even met them before they arrived on site. They brought their own equipment. They looked like they knew what they were doing.
And this equipment, it included the weapons that injured and killed the workers?
It was not much of a choice, Detective. I said they didn't need them, but Felix said it was essential. He said he knew better.
ムッシュが話せば話すほど少佐との取引がいかがわしいものに思えてくる。暴動が発生したのは偶然ではないように思えてきた。
That is all for now.
なるほどね。ちょっと失礼。この手紙によると、脅迫者は怪しげなビジネス上の取引に関する情報を公開すると書いてある。ムシダシルバ。まず貴殿はこの手紙を不審に思うだろうが、まずは最後まで読んでみてほしい。貴殿が隠蔽しようと必死になっていたことが筒抜けであることがわかるだろう。貴殿は何年もの間、懸命に働く者たちに寄生し、何の見返りも与えずに来た。貴殿の労働者たちは、自らの汗を流して生計を立てている。だが連日、貴殿の粗悪かつ壊れかけの危険極まりない機械を動かし、受け取るのは支払われるべき金額のほんの一部のみだ。取引をするごとに貴殿は豊かになっていく。金で肥え太っていくのだ。そして労働者たちがその代償を払わされている。貴殿は所有する工場だけでなく、貴殿の住む屋敷でも虐待を行い、苦痛をもたらしている。貴殿はその贅沢な生活を支えている者たちの命の価値を認めていないが、私にはその状況を見過ごすことなどできない。貴殿が誠意とモラルに背を向け、自らを支配者のように考え、真っ当な待遇を受けるべき者たちに対して尊大に振る舞うのを私はこれ以上傍観することができない。貴殿の罪の代償を支払う時が来たのだ。その額は5000フラン。私に沈黙を守らせるためなら些細な額だろう。これを金曜日までに受け取れない場合、また現金で支払われない場合、貴殿は鉄格子の向こうに入ることになる。現金は茶色の紙で小包にまとめ、アントルポ通りの郵便局に持ってこい。宛先はムッシュコールディエ。窓口に渡して立ち去れ。指示通りに行動した場合、手紙はもう届かない。貴殿は贅沢な暮らしを続けられるだろう。貴殿が他人の命に価値を認めていないのは明らかだが、自分の命の価値は考慮することをお勧めする。めっちゃ言われてるじゃん。めっちゃめちゃですね。めっちゃ手紙来てるよ。エルネストとヒューゴが交わす予定だった契約書だ。ヒューゴの署名がない。本契約はベルギー王国の法律に準拠するものとする。両当事者は以下の内容に合意するものとする。1、労働者による現在のストライキはあらゆる方法及びに形態において終了する。2、工場の作業員、機械の操作担当者、総監督は速やかに所定の位置に戻る。3、上記契約の条件は実行され、適切な行動が直接取られる。署名、エルネスト・ダ・シルバ。工場所有者兼雇用者、エルネスト・ダ・シルバ。M・ヒューゴ・ベッカーズ組合長。途中まで ペーパーナイフ？刃の鋭い新品同様のペーパーナイフだ。床に放り出されたままになっている。怪しくはないな。でもあんまりこの人怪しくないんだよな。なんだろう。気持ち的に怪しくないんだけど。
What is it now, detective?
問い詰めてみよう。
I have spoken of a potential blackmail ring, and yet you still kept your letter to yourself.
It is none of your business, and it is nothing more than a cheap trick to have me admit something that is not true.
If that were the case, it would be strange for you to have kept the letter and brought it with you, would it not?
Your persistence is a trait I do not enjoy.
無視だシルバー、質問への答えはそうでもないが率直な態度のままだ。礼儀正しく共感を示す態度で接するのが最良。そうすれば脅迫状とその内容の真相についてもっと話す気になるかもしれない。隠すべきだと思うだけの理由があるのでしょうね。
No reason, detective. Merely saving you from wasting your time.
I will be the judge of that. I would like to know about any and all evidence that may help my investigation. I trust there is nothing else you deem a waste of my time.
Of course not, officer. It's not as though you think I'm harboring some illicit secret. The letter was a pathetic attempt to intimidate me. Nothing more.
手紙から抜粋しましょう。貴殿はその贅沢な生活を支えている者たちの命の価値を求めていない。
I have never heard so much rubbish in all my life. I value those that work hard and deserve it.
That suggests there are some that you do not respect.
Yes, well, why should I praise someone for doing a poor job? You make me sound like some monster.
Monsieur, the letter does not only discuss your questionable business dealings, but also cases of abuse against your staff, both accusations that must be taken very seriously.
Detective, there is a difference between telling a member of my staff what to do and abuse.
まあ言わないね。
And it is you that decides where that line is drawn?
In my house? Yes,
Bragster.
it is.
ムッシュは使用人の扱いについて詳しく聞かれるのを嫌がっている。何も隠し事がないのならこんな反応する必要はないはずだ。虐待の話を出したのはどの使用人なのか見当がつきますか？
Please stop calling it that. I treat all my servants exactly how I always have, and no one has complained before.
That does not mean your behavior is appropriate.
They have one chance. If they are not doing the job they are hired to do, they are gone. You would be surprised how many staff expect an easy ride.
ムッシュが使用人を友人と同じように扱うとは思っていなかったが、野良犬のように扱っているとも思っていなかった。
Is there a specific member of staff that may have expected such a ride?
There is one girl, a new maid. I didn't expect great things from her, but Comtesse de Vos promised me she could do what was required.
ああ。これが伯爵夫人の言っていた若い娘のことだろう。夫人の見つけてくれる仕事は彼女たちにあんまり合わないものなのかもしれない。ムシュでミールはあなた方2人が腰を据えて話し合い、双方が納得できる落としどころを見つけられるようにとムシュ・ベッカーズを招きました。
Yes, and no one asked them to.
But surely it is beneficial to both parties. Your profits must have been affected.
There are barely any profits to speak of.
Why have those talks not taken place and a deal arranged?
Monsieur Beckers has made no attempt to speak with me and offered no counter-offer. The ball is in his court, detective.
なるほど。虫田シルバの使用人に対する扱いや賃金は問題だが、驚いたことに彼には少なくとも事態を解決しようとする意思があるらしい。ムッシュ・ベッカーズとは違うようだ。あなたは今週末に手紙を受け取る予定だったのですか？
Excuse me? Detective, I think you are beginning to lose your mind.
I do not think it is unreasonable to question why you would feel the need to bring a letter opener with you.
Really, detective? If I had stabbed a man with it, do you really think I would have left it lying out in my room?
虫田シルバーは正しい。そこまで不注意だというのにはさすがに無理がある。しかし凶器はまず屋敷のどっかにあるのだ。
That is all for now.
ああ、なるほど。なるほど、なるほど。ほどなる。ムッシュダシルバー。エルネストから雇っていた。エルネストとヒューゴが交わされた紙。捨てられた紙。これとこれかな。
I must take a different approach if I am to uncover the...
あれ脅迫状。脅迫状に絞ったんでしょ。
This will not get me...
あ、やだよ。シェルターから人を雇ってたけど、どこにいるの？マーゴはエルネストが。
Order and
なんで？
that
だってそうって言ってたじゃない。
I should not be surprised.
この二人が協力するとは思えない。エルネストは屋敷内の他の誰かと取引をしているのだろうか。彼のアリバイを証言していないものとだろうか。向こう出ちゃってよ。ヒューゴとエルネストが共謀したとは考えにくい。これは違うでしょ。彼のアリバイを証言していないもの。この人のアリバイを証言してない人ってさ、ジャッキ
ー I must act
ジャ
on
ッキー
thought
にじゃない
and...
とダメなのかな。ジャッ少佐。
Is there some...
あー、わかんないよ。インゲに。ギデオンの情報があまりにも少ないんだけど。なさんいらっしゃい。だってペーパーナイフ。脅迫状で金払わなかったんでしょ。脅迫状だいたいこういうの書く人ってさ、こういう人じゃないの。
Come, my little...
違うのね。あ、分かったわ。シェルターからだからシェルターの人だから上じゃないの。あれシェルターから雇ってたんでしょ。シェルターから雇ってるってことはなんで こなの？
What a revelation!
エルネストは他人に助けを求めるような人物には見えない。いかに重要な問題であってもだ。エルネスト。エルネスト。
What is it now, detective?
話を聞きたいんだよ。シェルターの女性を使用人として雇うことについて伯爵夫人と直接話したのですか？
She approached me. I thought it was rather brash.
やっぱ厚かましいと思ったんですか？
In what way?
Assuming that I would want to take on another servant, and one from such a troubled background. She is running the charity, not I.
そうでしょうね。むしろまだ隠していることがありますね。あなたと少佐のビジネス上の関係は随分と礼儀正しく法律に従ったもの。
When he came to me, I told him that with the factories on strike and my profits pouring down the drain, I had nothing for him. But he said he could help me get them all back to work and the factories earning. His rates were steep, but he said he knew what needed to be done, and he was prepared to do it. A week passed and they were all still on strike. In fact, even more had joined them.
なるほど。
He made excuse after excuse, demanding more and more money for the job to be done. But he never actually told me what he was going to do.
それはビジネスパートナーとしてどうですかね？
The riots.
I had no idea they were going to charge them like that. How was I meant to know?
それはビジネスパートナーとしてどうですかね？
And even following such a tragedy, he continued to demand money from you.
He said if he wanted my silence, it would cost. Do you have any idea what it could do to my livelihood, my name?
いや、
If
わ
it
か
got
りま
out
すよ
that。I had paid the so-called security that did that.
それはちょっと落ちちゃいますね。
I have every idea, monsieur. You hired a militia to take action against your own workers. You deserve whatever name is chosen for being so morally bereft in your decision making.
そうでしょうね。
I didn't know that was what he was going to do. You must believe me.
だろうね。
I have to believe nothing but the truth. And the truth, monsieur, is that it is not only the major that has the blood of those men on his hands.
なるほどね。
That is all for now.
つうことはよ。絶対さ、ザガリアなんか絶対なんかやってんだよね。このヒューゴも絶対なんかしてるよね。マーゴはエルネストに近づき、ギデオンはマーゴに対して、だってギデオンもなんかこのヒューゴのなんかに対してやってたって言ってたじゃん。工場に関してのものだから、工場に関してのものだから、その捨てられた紙か。こ
This will not get me any closer.
の工場に関してのものが、ヒューゴがいるんですと。
I must take a diff.
違うな。この紙なんか。
I cannot see the logic.
なんだろう。違うんだな。これなの？アーチボールと。
Some would say a lucky guess.
マーゴが屋敷内の使用人とつながりがあるのなら、元王君の事情に通じている可能性がある。客人が結託していたという明確な証拠は全く見当たらない。 明らかになったのは伯爵夫人と使用人の関係。この関係になんか裏はないだろうか。あ、間違えてた。インゲに話しかける。インゲ。じゃあ失礼。私インゲのとこに行かなきゃいけないから。パパイインゲどこにいるのかな。
Oh,
あ、関係ないの？ちょっと待って、インゲ探すのどこに行ったインゲいるの？インゲどこにいるのですか？インゲは、あ、そうか、キッチンにいつもいたんじゃないですかね。確かね。あれ、関係ないの？ちょっとインゲ知らない？ちょっと、お嬢さん、インゲ知らないかい？
Is there something you need,
인기죠.
Detective?
伯爵夫人とあなたの本当のご関係を教えてください。
She helped me at the shelter and with this job.
that I am already aware of. What I am not is what else she tasked you with.
Pardon, Detective?
I know that your position as a servant in this house is not your only job. What did Countess de Vos ask you to do while in this house?
She said I had to do what she asked, or I would be back on the street. I didn't want to do it. If anyone found out,
なんかスパイみたいなことさせられてたんかな。マダム・バンデンボッシュならインゲの過去に気づいてもおかしくなかった。そしてインゲは自分が疑われることを恐れている。彼女が頼まれた仕事は泥棒としての過去に関係があるに違いない。
Merci, mademoiselle.
泥棒としての過去ね。
Order and method. That is the way to solve the...
マーゴの言いつけに従ったよね。これさ、絶対金庫の鍵インゲが取ったよね。
I cannot see the lot.
多分。インゲはマーゴから仕事を紹介された。インゲは自分がこれ
Is there something
難
I am...
しい。これとこれなのか。あ、マーゴが言い合ってるの見ちゃったのか。
The pieces of the puzzle are...
インゲは屋敷内で必ずしも誠実ではない仕事もしていることを認めた。インゲはで誠実じゃない仕事って何？盗みの手伝いをしている。これがこれでしょ多分。
What a revelation!
鍵をなくすとはアーチボルトの死体だと思ったが、そういうことならなくなったことにも納得いく。ですよね。はい、インゲ。
Is there something you need, Detective?
伯爵夫人は屋敷から何を盗むように言ったのですか？
Nothing. She said I was to take nothing.
If it was not something she wished you to take, what was it?
She wanted me to find out information about the family and Monsieur Hagen.
Monsieur Hagen.
Why did she request that?
At first I didn't know, but when I heard about Mademoiselle Angeline being blackmailed, and then the Major, I knew she had used what I found.
少佐の金庫についてムッシュ・スターリングの関与を疑ったのは間違いだったようだ。鍵をなくしたのではなく盗まれたんだろう。金庫はどうやって開けたんですか？
I knew Monsieur Archie had a key, and it would be easy to get it from him.
You knew that the Major asked Monsieur Sterling to access the safe from time to time, and if anything was ever discovered missing, he would surely take the blame.
I never took anything. I only told the Countess what I had found.
And that was?
About Monsieur Hagen and the Madame's relationship. And Angeline.
ああ、全部言っちゃったんだ。
I'm sure the Countess was pleased to hear such valuable information.
そうでしょうね。
She said I had done a good job, but I needed proof. That's why I went back and got the letters last night.
すると昨晩マダム・バンデンボッシュより早く金庫を開けたのがこのインゲだったのか。だがなぜあれほど無造作に放っておいたのだろう。今朝私が書斎に入ると手紙を出したまま金庫は開いたままでしたが。
I fetched the letters again and took them to the Countess last night. But she shouted at me and said what a stupid girl I was.
You were only doing as she requested.
She said it was too dangerous for her to have them with you around. That's when I returned them to the study. I thought I heard someone on the stairs, so I just threw them back. It was dark as I dared not turn the light on. Someone would have seen it.
暗闇の中で鍵を鍵穴に差し込むのは容易ではない。これで金庫に引っかき傷がついていたことに説明がつく。マダム・バンデンボッシュが手紙を取り戻そうとするがほんの数分でも早かったら間違いなくインゲと出くわしていたことだろう。
Merci, mademoiselle.
なるほど。ちゅうことはだよ。インゲが金庫を開けた。インゲは隠し部屋のことを知ってた。
This will not get me
隠
any
し部屋っ
closer.
て何？ちょっと待って。隠し部屋って何？アーチボルトの鍵を取ってインゲが金庫を開けたんでしょ。アーチボルトの鍵を盗んでインゲは情報を集めるように言いつけられてて金庫開けたの？
Come, my little Grace.
なんで？
We must.
なんで？アーチボルトの鍵を盗んで金庫を開けた。
Another.
インゲが探してる秘密とやらがこの屋敷にどれほど隠されているのだろう。インゲは秘密を暴こうとしている。秘密を暴こうとしている。なんで？秘密を暴こうとしている。隠し部屋？
Some would say a lucky.
この家のどこかに秘密があるのだとしたら隠し部屋の中に入っているに違いない。伯爵夫人とインゲにつながりがあるという推測は正しかった。伯爵夫人はインゲを利用し自分の手を汚さないまま一家の事情を知り得る限り調べていた。北に野郎だぜ。なんでそんなことをしやがったんだ。待って2個あった今。ちょっと待って、脅迫状。アンジェリンのではエルネストは警察の指令書。待って、直近の数週間どこで金庫インゲが開けたんでしょ。詳細によるカサンドラへマーゴは何人かのインゲ。
Order and method.
違うの？ちょっと間違えた。詳細はバンデンボッシュ家の秘密は隠し部屋にあるのかもしれない。知ってるのかもしれない。脅迫状1。違うの？ ここと
I must act on thought and fact.
違うの。少佐は家族の秘密。脅迫状に関係があってじゃあ
I must take a different approach.
そうなの。マーゴとこれ
I should not be surprised by my own skill.
嘘と秘密で作られた計算高い陰謀だ。これほど手の込んだ行動を行うに至る動機は何だろう。動機。マーゴが脅迫者だ。マーゴが脅迫者だ。マーゴが脅迫者だ。なんでかというと、なんでなんでなんでマーゴが脅迫者の理由は、理由理由なんでかっていうと、実は少佐に関係があるかもしれない。
Come, my little Grace.
実は少佐の脅迫状に関係があるかもしれない。違うのね。実は知ってるかもしれない。違うんだよね。何わかんないよ。そんなこと言われたってさ。そんなこと言われたってさ。そんな頭がピピンと働く工藤新一じゃないわけでさ。僕は工藤新一じゃないんだよ。コナン君じゃないんだよ。偽コナンだからわかるわけないんだよ。偽コナンにこんなことわかるわけないじゃん。バカ。
Magnifique.
マーゴはシェルターの女性たちに汚れ仕事をさせている。社会的エリートたちの荒探しをさせているの。何だ、ゴシップでもさせたいん？ついに脅迫者が分かった。マドモアゼル・アンジェリンをはじめとした脅迫状を受け取った人々はもう怯えながら生活せずに済む。ドゥーボス伯爵夫人は罪を犯した代償を払うことになるだろう。ドゥーボス伯、あれ違うじゃんこれ。
Mademoiselle, merci for coming.
Have you had a breakthrough, detective?
あったよ。
I have. Finally, I have the news you have awaited.
Please, detective, don't hold me in suspense.
バンデンボチ家を脅迫していた人物をついに突き止めましたでござる。
Oh my, I feel faint at the thought of knowing who could have done this to us.
それがですね。
It is said to keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. It is Countess de Bosch that is behind the letters.
I don't believe it. What about the Major's letter?
Not only his, but a letter to Monsieur da Silva.
She was blackmailing him as well. Detective, I just don't know what to say.
何も言わなくて結構です。
Take a moment, mademoiselle. It is a lot of information to take in.
I just don't understand why she would do such a cruel thing.
インゲスの過去については何かご存知ですか？
She has never been particularly forthcoming with it, only that she was homeless for some time and that she was at the women's shelter before here.
And it is there that the Countess abused her power and manipulated her to uncover secrets of the family.
All this time she has been working for Margot, doing her dirty work?
I am afraid so, mademoiselle.
マドマゼルはショックを受けている。家族ぐるみの親しい友人、知人がこんなひどい裏切りをしていたと知るのは大変な衝撃だろう。まあ衝撃だよね。
Is Maman aware?
バダス。
You are the first I have told, mademoiselle. Next will be the authorities.
I'm afraid that we'll have to wait.
シルブプレ。 マドワゼル、手続きを曲げることはしてはいけないのです。ごめんなさい、美しい人。
And we will. I want to see her punished to the fullest extent of the law. But we cannot telephone anyone as the lines are still down.
しまった、そうだった。
Monsieur Archibald informed me earlier. I had hoped they would be working again. Last night's snow must have caused more damage than expected.
Last night, they have been done all weekend, Detective.
え
Detective, are you okay?
私は何とも間抜けだったのだ。ムッシュ・スターリングが電話で話すのを見ていたが、呼び出し音が聞こえなかったではないか。
Detective Poirot?
すべて嘘だったのだ。あの芝居に騙され、私は判断を誤ってしまった。あの時点でまだ少佐が生きていると私は思っていれば、事前に全員の居場所を調べておこうとは思わなくなる。ムッシュ・スターリングと使用人たちを含めて。
Would you like me to fetch you a glass of water, Detective?
My apologies, mademoiselle. I was taken by surprise for a moment, but I have regained my composure. A glass of water is not required. Would you excuse me? Merci, mademoiselle.
なんてこったい。騙されていたぜ。あの人は一体何をしたいんだ。私の忍耐も限界が近づいている。この屋敷の客人も使用人も私の質問に対し平然と嘘をつき、捜査を妨害しても構わないと思っている。だがそれもここまでだ。ムッシュ・スターリングと使用人たちの焦る様を見せてもらうとしよう。ヒッヒッヒ。アーチボルト・レハナ。もう私に嘘は通じない。最初は客人を疑っていたが、疑うべきは使用人だったのだ。ムッシュ・スターリングとマドマゼル・レハナはこれ以上嘘をついてごまかすことはできない。はは？お前ら、私を騙した罪を泣いてこい。どこにいるんだこれ。ここどこ？ここどこ？ここどこ？ここ？マドマーゼル・エリザベスが出歩いているようだが、こんな遅い時間に。
Mademoiselle, what a pleasure to see you.
Detective,
It is a rather late hour to be wandering the halls.
Oh, yes, of course. I do not feel myself, Detective.
If that is the case, you should be resting. Allow me to help.
お休みに手を貸すってどういうこと？
No, that's quite all right. I will see to my duties and return to bed.
Lizzie, excuse me, Elizabeth. Lady Van den Bosch has been waiting for some time now.
Oh, yes. Sorry. Detective Poirot was just...
I'll see to the detective. You just head on up. Off you go.
Good night, Detective.
Bonne nuit, mademoiselle.
おしょう、ありがとう。おやすみ。はい、ゼジー。マドモアゼル・エリザベスは確かに様子がおかしい。少佐が死んだことで愛するルークの辛い記憶が呼び起こされたのかと思ったが、他の事情がありそうだわ。
I'm sorry about her, Detective. As you can see, she is still not back to her usual bubbly self.
This weekend seems to have taken quite a toll on her.
She'll be right as rain in a couple of days. Now, what can I help you with?
As if by magic you appeared when needed. I would like to speak with you and the remaining staff. If you could gather them in the staff pantry.
At this hour, Detective? Is that really necessary?
私が必要だと言えば必要なんだよ。僕は刑事なのだから。
I shall be the one that determines what is and what is not necessary, and this is very much the former.
As you wish, Detective. I'll see if Inge is finished preparing for breakfast.
And Mademoiselle Rihanna?
Yes, of course. I'll fetch her from the kitchen. Elizabeth may be some time with the lady of the house. Perhaps you'd like to start with us?
Very well. I shall speak with Mademoiselle Elizabeth when her duties are complete.
While I am gathering the staff, Mr. Beckers is in the library. If you wish to join him, I could bring you both a nightcap.
I wish to keep a clear head, but there is something I wish to discuss with Monsieur Beckers.
誰にも邪魔されずにムッシュ・ベッカーズを問いただすチャンスだ。ムッシュとはシルバーとの取引の有無とあったならばその内容を聞き出そう。おいえい。図書館だよ。ライブラリー。どこにいるの？あれ？図書館って言わなかった？いたわ。Hey, Hugo.
Monsieur Beckers, it is rather late. The other guests have already retired to their rooms.
I didn't even see the time. It's easy to lose oneself in a library this impressive.
That is something we can agree on, monsieur.
I suppose I should be heading?
Un moment, monsieur. There are some matters that we must discuss.
Oh, what is it, detective?
あなたとマドマーゼル・コンラッドの関係がここまでビジネス的だとは思いませんでした。
I'm not sure what you mean.
Her proposal to make you somewhat of a star, a figurehead for the working man, what would you call that?
There was certainly no talk of making me a star. That is not the type of man I am. She wanted to write a piece on my work with the union, and I was happy to oblige.
ムッシュ・ベッカーズは決断の理由として労働者のためというのを常に中心に考えているようだが、何か偉大な業績を残して人々の記憶に残りたいという思いに抗えなかったのだろう。疑問に思っていたのですが、演説の効果は狙い通りのものだったんですか？
My speech? I'm not sure what speech.
You may save your false ramblings for your next audience. I am aware you spoke with the Major yesterday.
Whoever told you that has it wrong, detective.
Please, monsieur. The truth.
Okay, fine. Yes, the Major and I spoke, but it was not for long.
どのような雰囲気の会話だったのですか？私の知る限り気軽なおしゃべりではなかったようですが。
I was trying to convince him to speak with Ernesto. It's time we brought the strikes to an end.
And that was best approached by a shouting match?
He wouldn't listen to a word I said. I spent so long preparing how I was going to convince him, but men like him are only swayed by one thing: money.
ムッシュ・ベッカーズの言うことは間違いない。彼が少佐に金を握らせておけば、もっとうまくいくことを勧められていただろう。
It is said that money is the root of all evil, but it can also be a rather powerful bargaining chip.
そうね。
Well, he was bargaining with people's lives. If he had acted sooner, none of those men, my men, would have to die.
少佐は工場の警備を監督していたが、ストライキを暴動に発展させないような手段があったのだろうか。虫田シルバーは取引をする用意ができていたそうですが。
A deal? It was an insult.
And that is why you did not sign it?
I didn't sign it because the workers deserve so much more, not his pathetic attempts to get them back to work.
Did you think there was a chance for a better deal to be made?
I know there was. He's a pompous swine that cares for only himself and filling his pockets.
以前虫田シルバーもそのように言っていたはずだ。少なくとも似たようなことを。ジャクリンが受けている影響についてヒューゴを問い詰める。
Mademoiselle Conrad can be quite convincing, can she not?
She has certainly taken several wealthy business partners by surprise with her knowledge and prowess. She knows how to use her womanly powers to get what she wants.
But she did not surprise or use you?
Me? Used me? Don't be ridiculous, detective. There were no games played at my expense.
ムシュ・ベッカーズは弁が立つ上本人も喋ることを好んでいる。おそらく彼には話す機会を与えるべきだ。口を挟まず無理やりではなく自分から話をさせるのだ。
No, she just reminded me of what I was fighting for.
ムシュダ・シルバーの提案した取引をお仲間にふさわしいものではないとして拒否したそうですね。
And I stand by that. It was an insult.
A rather bold move to make such a decision on your own.
労働者を助けるのがあなたの仕事だ。なのにあなたは彼らに請け負った成果を全く出していない。自らの行いの責任を取るつもりはあるのですか？それともそんなつもりはないと。
Everything that has happened is my doing.
You yourself spoke of Mademoiselle Conrad's cunning in business.
And I told you, I was not one of her targets.
Tell me then, what was it she reminded you of? The acclaimed man of the people you would be known as if you pushed the factory owners for more?
It wasn't like that at all.
From where I am standing, it was she that was manipulating the terms of the deal, and you in the process. You were merely her pawn.
Okay, yes, I know. I shouldn't have listened to her. But what else could I do? Remain an unknown my whole life? I didn't mean for anyone to get hurt.
ごめんって。
It may not have been your intention, but we both know the result. You rolled the dice with those men's lives for fame, and you lost.
立ち入ったことをお聞きしますが、あなたは大家族のご出身では？
What does that have to do with anything?
I have often wondered about the competition siblings face in a large family.
When you're young, it is the best feeling to know you have family that will stand by you, without even being asked. It is not until everyone starts carving their own path that you realize you're walking yours solo, and those that were beside you are now miles away. My older brothers were the athletes of the family. They both played soccer, and were the infatuation of every teenage girl. I'm sure you have seen the type.
Oui, monsieur, but I can assure you that was not I.
Then there was me. Quiet, timid, a shadow of the Baker brothers. My voice and very presence was forgotten and ignored. Nothing I could say or do would ever reach the bar they had set. But I always knew I was destined for great things. Years passed, and now that I no longer stood in the colossal ombre of my brothers, I could become my own man. When the position of union leader was posted, it was my chance to finally be heard. You hear politicians speak of the little or the common man? Well, that was me. And I knew what we wanted and what we needed. When I spoke, others listened. I held their gaze with a sense of pride, a sense that what I was doing was for the greater good. It was supposed to be my crowning achievement, lead the men to victory over the money-grabbing oppressors. But instead, all I did was lead them to their deaths.
手間悲しいね。
Monsieur, it was not at your hands that these men died. The blame cannot lie solely on your shoulders. Those responsible will be punished for their crimes. That you must trust.
ムッシュ・ベイカーズの物語は自分の声を届かせたいという戦いでもあった。それが一人の声であっても、また大勢の声であっても、彼の名は記憶されるだろうが、望んでいたのとは異なる形になってしまうだろう。ピンポン。
なるほどね。何もないわ。私は去るわ。さようなら。間違えてしまったわ、選択を。何するんだったかしら。使用人ね、使用人。そうね。ムッシュ・ベイカーズと話すためにこんな時間まで起きていたのではなかったのだが、おかげで詳細について不明だった点をいくつか明らかにすることができた。それでも殺人犯の特定には全く近づいていない。使用人の宿舎に行けば何かつかめるかもしれない。レッツゴー！宿舎どこにあるの？ね、宿舎。宿舎ってどこにあるの？またビョビーンって出てんだけど。使用人の宿舎を調べる。つまり、使用人の宿舎ってどこにあるの？ね。使用人の宿舎、みんなどこ？下？やっぱそういうのって下っぽいよね。多分。下っぽいね。でもここはキッチンとかでしょ？ダイニングルームでしょ？ダイニングルームで確かに寝てないから。ちょっとガラスのケース。宿舎ってどこにあんの？ねえ、宿舎。なんかここなんかじゃがいも剥いてたよね、ここでね。パントリーだもんね、これ。違うね。パントリーでしょ。ここかな、宿舎。あった。女の子たちの住む部屋にこんな夜中に入っていっていいのか。誰もいないんだけど。誰もいない？誰もいないってことある？戸棚。勝手に見てやる。なんもない。荷物。軍から授与された勲章だ。少佐のものに違いない。なんで少佐のものがこんなところにあるの？ハンモックで寝てるの？この屋敷の客になったことを嬉しく思っている。この不思議な網の中でよく眠れるかどうかわからないが。ハンモックって落ちない？ハンモックは落ちたことあるけど。数日前のものだ。ここで今週末に起こったことほどの内容は載ってない。これは何にもないの？他に何がある？薪？焚き木？焚き木はたっぷり用意されている。この天候だ。塩にもしっかり暖を取ってほしいもんだ。お腹すいた。弟。豆腐一丁はお腹すく弟。放置された衣類。かなり上等なジャケットだ。イニシャル FH。フェリックス・ハーゲンだ。この薄汚れたブーツも彼のものだろうか。なぜこんなところに放置されている？あれ？男女兼用？発見した品物は非常に興味深い。これに納得いく説明をつけられるのは使用人だけだろう。パントリーで会って話すことでしょ。なんでパントリ
ー？ Detective, what can we do for you?
You can help me by telling the truth, and in the process, help yourselves.
Sorry, Detective. It's a bit late in the night for riddles.
It is no riddle, monsieur. If I do not receive the truth, you shall all be charged as accessories to murder.
Detective, I think maybe you have been locked in this house for too long. We have already...
You have told me a version, and now I require honesty.
そうだ、室内に話せ。誰と？この人？
Monsieur Sterling, is there anything you would like to add to your story?
ありますか？
I'm not sure what you think I have done, Detective.
湯豆腐代ありがとう。なんか来た。あっちへ。
Let us not string out this charade any longer.
少佐が受けたという電話ですが。
From his associate. I've
あげ
already
ちぱありがとう。アフロ。
I don't know who it was.
Do not worry yourself on such details now. I suppose they were lucky to have called when they did. Otherwise, they may not have gotten through at all with the telephone lines being down as of yesterday.
Aye, Detective. Lucky, I guess.
むしろスターリングは愚か者ではない。私が何か疑っていることに気づいてるだろう。あっつ彼にボロを出させるためには言葉を注意深く選んで質問しなければいけない。生きている少佐を見た。なぜ少佐の勲章があなたの持ち物に入っていたのかご説明願いますか。
Oh, you found it. Thank you, detective. I've been looking everywhere for it.
If I had lost a war medal, I would not stop until I found it.
It's not what you think. I was
私は
Exploiting a dead man's military achievements for your own personal gain?
nothing of the sort. He asked me to clean them up. I must have dropped it into my pocket when I was putting them back. An honest mistake.
盗品が自分の持ち物の中に見つかったことの説明としてこれほどいい加減な言い訳は聞いたことがない。子供でももっと上手に嘘をつくだろう。私の専門分野ではありませんが、あのような勲章はかなりの値打ちがあるんでしょうね。
I wouldn't know.
いれって。
Your father was in the military for many years. That is what you told me.
前も金かよ。
He was.
And your family still keep his medals?
They were sold.
じゃあいくらか知ってるよね。
And why was that, monsieur?
Is my family on trial now, detective?
Only you, monsieur. And I repeat my question.
Because we needed money.
Voilà.
ムシュ・スターリンが自分の持ち物に招き入れ込んだ勲章の価値をよく分かっていた。少佐が勲章をきれいにしろと言ったそうですね。飾るつもりだったのでしょうか。
No, he keeps them safe with some of his old military documentation.
Is that a typical job for the head butler?
He trusts me to do a good job. I told him I used to clean my father's, so he asked me to do the same.
And where does he keep these items?
In the storage room. I know where everything is, so it's just easier if I fetch them for him as and when he needs them.
倉庫では軍の記念品や思い出の品などを見かけた覚えがない。彼が言ってるのは別の倉庫のことだろう。生きている少佐を見たのはあなたが最後でしたね。書斎にウイスキーのボトルを運んでいった。そうですね。
Whiskey?
You took a bottle of whiskey to the major. You spoke with Monsieur Demir en route.
Aye, of course. It was a bottle he picked up from his last visit to Scotland. Rather smoky number from the Highlands. He was saving it for a worthy occasion. Drowning his sorrows must have been fitting enough.
最初はボトルのことをすっかり忘れていたようだが、魔法のように細部を正確に思い出した。
Or was it the one from the west coast? You'll have to excuse my memory, detective. It's not what it used to be.
あなたはこの晩年防止邸での暮らしに満足していますか？
It's certainly better than my last.
ほう。
You are paid a fitting wage for the work that is asked of you?
I'm sure the lady of the house would not want me discussing it. But I should not complain.
That is not the most convincing answer, monsieur.
Between you and I, we all work very hard here. And it would be nice if we were rewarded for it.
ムッシュ・スターリングは自分自身を納得させたいように私もまた納得させようとしている。自分の手癖の悪さを地味な仕事に対する安すぎる賃金のせいにして正当化させようとしているのだ。
Please don't go anywhere. If I require more information, I shall call on you again.
なるほどね。 インゲの方だ。インゲの方だ。
Mademoiselle, I shall keep my questions brief.
I don't know what else I can tell you.
You have been honest with me so far. All I request is that you continue to do so.
あった。
Oui, détective.
あ、ちょっと待って。聞こえない、何も。窓、あ、ちょっと待って。何も聞こえない。ちょっと待って、何も聞こえない。マドモアゼルが脅迫に、ちょっと待って。なんで聞こえない？脅迫に関わっていることはすでに分かっている。だからよくわからないのは彼女が少佐の殺害にもつながりがあるかどうかだ。少佐を書斎で発見する前に起こった出来事を教えてください。
It was frantic in the pantry. We were working hard to make sure everything was up to scratch.
Go on.
Then Liz burst in, asking for Maman Ray's help.
Her help with what, exactly?
下タップにするのかな？
I don't know. She took Liz to one side.
あ、リズか。リズじゃないのか。
We spoke just after that in the pantry.
リズかと思っちゃった。
You did not question what she needed help with?
I was too busy. I love Liz, but she sheds a tear at almost everything these days. Although, I have never seen her look so pale.
最近見たマドモアゼル・エリザベスも青い顔をしていた。この規模の屋敷を運営するのだから膨大な量の仕事が必要になるのはわかる。だがマダムも具合が悪い使用人に働けとは言わないだろう。おそらくマドモアゼル・レハナならエリザベスが取り乱した理由を知っている。
Merci. I shall return if I have any further questions.
Hey. レハナ
Mademoiselle, I shall be as quick and precise with my questioning as possible.
Okay. What do you...
あ、ごめんな。すみません、マドモアゼル。一度伺ったことなのですが、あなたは少佐のもとに氷を運んだのでしたね。
Yes.
This was before or after Archibald took him a bottle of whiskey.
Before.
You are sure?
It may have been after.
The whiskey is kept in the cellar with all the alcohol.
It is.
Then you must have noticed him going into the cellar and returning with a bottle through the pantry, no?
Yes, I suppose I did. It must have been before then.
この質問一つでマドモアゼルの話が怪しくなってきた。まだ見えてこないのをなぜ嘘をつく必要があるのかだ。昨日のエリザベスについて教えてください。
What is there to say? Being locked away in the pantry, I don't see her for most of the day.
Well, that may be, but she came looking for your help before dinner was served, did she not?
She wasn't feeling well, that's all.
And she came to you.
I told you, we are a family here. The girls come to Mama Reh if they have a problem, and I fix it.
When I saw her earlier, I must admit she was not looking herself. Perhaps I should check on her.
No! Just leave the poor girl. She'll be fine after another bowl of my homemade soup. She just needs her rest.
マドモアゼル・レハナは家族から離れた使用人たちに対し母親役を喜んで演じている。だが私はマドモアゼル・エリザベスにどうしても合わせようとしないのは腑に落ちない。弟さんの死についてお悔やみを申し上げます。
Merci. He was a good man. Taken too early.
Forgive me, mademoiselle, for not extending them earlier, but I was not aware of your relationship.
He was my only brother. And he died doing what he believed was right. If I ever get my hands on who took him from me.
あらま。彼女の怒りももっともだ。まだ若い弟を暴力的な方法で奪われてしまったのだから。暴力に暴力を返してはならないが、マドモアゼルもそう思ってくれるかどうかわからない。弟さんと工場の暴動の関係について教えてください。
You say the riots, but it was the strike he was part of. They started the riots, not the workers.
By they, you are referring to the security forces. They were brought in to keep the peace.
Security, huh? They were brought in to make an example of them. It was all peaceful until they arrived.
Why would they need to make an example?
So that the workers would stop rallying. No one is going to go on strike if they think they'll get killed. The security you talk of were armed and ready. The workers were pigs to the slaughter. What chance did they have?
マドモアゼルは明らかにまた弟くんの死に怒りを覚えている。それも当然だろう。事件の内容がマドモアゼルの言う通りだとすれば、警備隊がそれほど卑劣な暴力を行使しておきながら逃げおおせている理由がわからない。
Merci, mademoiselle. That is all for now.
なるほどね。えいや。4つもあっちゃう。証人たちが殺人に関与しているリハナは、アーチボット君は少佐に氷運んでるよって言ってんのに忘れてたよね。
I cannot see the
なんで
logic
や
in this.
ねん。普通こうじゃないのかよ。労働者少佐リハナは時間の記憶が曖昧。
Things are beginning to be...
つい先日に起きた重要な出来事を2人とも忘れるなとありえるだろうか。ねえな。アーチボルトとレハナは記憶が曖昧。レハナいなく履き古されたブーツ。ヒューゴは少佐が外にいるのが見えた。使用人たちが犯人に関係している可能性がある。とすれば曖昧だから。
Is there something I
違う
am
の
not...
曖昧は関係ないの。ルークの死を悲しんでいる。労働者に勝ち目はないと思っていた。勲章をなくしたのに勲章があった。
Order and method.
ってことはアーチボルトは盗みを働いた。
I must take a different approach.
ってことはディファレントアプローチってことはこうか。
This will not get me any...
なんだって盗んだじゃん。お給金少ない。
I cannot see the logic in this.
マジでちょっと待って。ちょっと待って。少佐のコートがここにあるのはこういうこと。
The pieces of...
あれほど上等なコートだ。少佐が使用人のいる場所に置いていたとは思えない。誰かが着ていたのだ。さらに重要なのは誰が少佐の服を着ていたかだ。誰か他の者が少佐のコートを着ていた。ということは誰が着ていたんだ。これを着ていたのはお前じゃねえのか、アーチボルト。盗んでたんだからな。
Come, my little grey cells.
ブーツとか。ブーツはさ、どうせあ あれでしょ、君が履いてたんでしょ。
I must take a different approach if I am to uncover the truth.
あれなんでだって使用人たちがだって誰が着てたか、ハーチボルトじゃないの。勲章はこうじゃないの。なんで違うんですか、教えてください。お給金ごくわずか。
The
なんで
pieces
こ
of
れ
the
でブ
puzzle
ーツなの。見てすぐに気づくべきだった。これは使用人のブーツだ。だから誰のものだろう。使用人のブーツだって男のものだから使用人のブーツって言ってもうアーチボルトしかないじゃん。これアーチボルトのもんじゃないの。
Is there something I am not seeing?
違うの。あ、でも使用人のブーツとこれが合致る。
Some would say a lucky guess.
使用人の一人が少佐の服を着て客に見えるよう雪の中に立っていたのだ。なぜそんなことをしたのだろう。なりすましがいたんだよ。なぜかというと、だってアーチボルトとレハナかな。
I must act on.
待って、絶対でも背格好的にアーチボルトしかありえないんだよな。違うな。もしかしてレハナ。
I cannot see
なわ
the
け
logic
ないよ
in
ね。
this.
絶対アーチボルトだよね。アーチボルトだよね。アーチボルトは盗み働いてて、でも労働者階級の絶対なんかな気がするんだよな。ということは絶対こっちの方なんだよな。ヒューゴはヒューゴと話してたわけだから、こっち？
What a revelation!
少佐が夕食の間に殺されたする説はでっち上げに他ならない。使用人たちはなぜ本当の死亡時刻を隠そうとしている？使用人たちは本当の死亡時刻をごまかそうとしている。それはここがなりすましたから？
I must act on thought and fact, not on impulse.
待って、なんでごまかそうとしてるのか。夕食の間はレハナが働いてたから。じゃないの？基本的にみんな働いてたからバレないと思ったんじゃないの？これか？
Come, my little grey cells.
ルークの死を悲しんでたから？
This will not get me
違うの？
any
なん
clue.
で？わかんないよ。ごまかしてる。アーチボルト、アーチボルトと。
Another success.
アーチボルトもレアナンも自分の役をうまく演じていたが、油断したのが運動つきだ。なぜ使用人が作り話をしなければならないのだろう。作り話をしている。なんで作り話をしてるか。殺人の可能性があるから。
I must take a different approach if I am to uncover.
そんな簡単じゃないの？そんな簡単ではない。 アーチボルトもレハナも少佐のことが嫌いなんだよ。なんでか。二人が殺したんだよ。二人が殺したから。待って。作り話をした。なんでか。労働者に。やったよね、さっき。作り話をしてまで。作り話をしてまで。なんで？なんでなの？
Come, my little
わか
Grace
んない。これはなんで？こうなの？
Magnifique.
なんで？使用人たちの話を突き返してやるところだった。二人の言葉は一言たりとも信用できない。なぜ使用人たちは私に真実を見せまいとするのだろうか。なぜって言うと殺人にしてる可能性があるからじゃない。
I should not be surprised.
予想もしていなかったことが発覚した。使用人が殺人に関与している。インゲが脅迫の共犯だった一方、ムッシュ・スターリングとマドモアデル・レハナは少佐の殺害に関する真相の隠蔽の中心的役割を果たしていた。えらいこっちゃ。初めから使用人たちが怪しいと思っていたが、これで関与が確定した。使用人たち全員が関わっているんだろうか。少佐殺害の真相をもう少しで解き明かせそうだ。だが、最後の謎を解くためには事件に関わった全員、それぞれが果たした役割を理解しなければならない。エリザベスはルークの死を悲しんでいるんでしょ。
Things are beginning to...
ルークを失った苦しみは想像もつかない。彼の思い出は二人の胸の中に生き続けるだろう。これだな。エリザベスとレハナは二人ともルークをなんとかしてたんだよ。だから降りてきた時の顔面蒼白だった。助けてた。
Is there something I am not
ま
seeing?
あ、助けてねえな。ルークを使用人を多分あれ使用人
This will not get me any...
ねルークをインゲはカッコと決別できたと思ってる。カッコと決別できたと思ってる。決別できたと思ってる。
I must take a diff...
なんで
Another success.
インゲが隠蔽に関わっていないのは確かだ。明らかに他の使用人の仕業。インゲは殺人に関与してない。ということは、殺人使用人ちょっと使用人はこの人じゃないの？
Order and method.
違うの。
That is the way to...
ということは 助けてねえんだな。
I cannot see the logic in this. Perhaps
ちょっと待って。インゲは殺人と関与してないから、あと1個？思い出に生き続ける。思い出に生き続ける。思い出に生き続けるから関与してないとか関係ないじゃ
I
ん。
must act on thought and
いた
fact.
んで。顔面蒼白で降りてきたら殺人関与した。
Magnifique.
エリザベスが青ざめた様子だった一方、他の使用人たちは自分の仕事にかかりきりだった。死体を見つけたのは彼女に違いないが、殺人に関与していたのだろうか。エリザベスが死体を見つけた。エリザベスが死体を見つけたけど、エリザベスは死体を見つけたけど、アーチボルトはふんってほっ
I
といた。
cannot see the logic.
エリザベスは死体を見つけたけど、詳細になりすましてた。
I must
なわけ
act.
だよ、死体見つけてんだけど。エリザベスが死体を見つけてた時に殺人に関与していない。
Order and method.
ない、もうやだ。エリザベスが死体を見つけた時にリハナは
Things are
なん
beginning
で
to become.
リハナは主にキッチンとパントリーで働いてるはずだが姿を見た覚えがない。何年で出てきたん？エリザベスが死体を見つけた時リハナの姿が見えなくなった。なんでかっていうと、なんで？なんでだろうね。やっべえっつってアーチボルトのとこ行った。
The pieces of the puzzle.
アーチボルトは演技の才能を開花させ使用人をかばっている。だが誰をだろう。これか？しよう。
This will not get me any.
誰をって誰を？だってこうなったらレハナしかいないじゃない。犯人。
I must take a different approach if I am to uncover the truth.
ちょっと待って、これ難しいな。使用人の一人が詳細になりすましてんだよ。これどういう子か。
I should not be surprised.
レハナが詳細になりすましたのは計画の一部だろう。なぜそうする必要があったのかはまだわからない。エリザベスをかばおうとした動機は何だ？レハナはエリザベスをかばってる。エリザベスをかばってる。なんでエリザベスかばってんの？エリザベスをかばってるの？エリザベスをかばってる。エリザベスをかばってて、アーチボルトも
Is
かば
there
ってない。
something I am not seeing?
だってレハナはエリザベスをかばなんでエリザベス？エリザベスをかばおうとした動機は死体見つけたから？
Come, my little Grace Alice. We must think.
違うね。これをかばおうとした動機は違うね。助けたから。
I cannot see the logic in.
全然わかんないよ。アーチボルトもかばってんだ。エリザ
Some
ベス
would
を。
say a lucky get.
電話の偽装がアーチボルトの役割だ。彼はエリザベスを守るために随分と大胆な行動に出ているが、エリザベスをかばおうとした動機は何だ？なんだ？インゲが脅迫の共犯だった一方、ムッシュ・スターリングとマドモアゼル・レハナは少佐殺害に関する子孫の隠蔽の中心的役割を果たしていた。何？エリザベスがやったの？嘘。なんで？我が灰色の脳細胞に働いてもらうときだ。真実を明らかにするまであと少しだ。灰色の脳細胞よ、いでよ。どういうこと？リハナは体。リハナもかばってんだよね。こういうこと？
What a revelation!
なぜこんなことを見逃していたのだろうか。エリザベスが殺人犯だ。なんで？なんで？私がそれを見抜けなかったとは信じられない。自分を過信するあまり目がくらんだのだ。思い返してみれば手がかりはそこにあったのだ。目の前で私を見つめるように。客同士のつながりを追うのに時間をかけてしまった。彼らには疑うには十分すぎるほどの動機や問題点がある。だが私はそれに気を取られて屋敷の関係者で休みを取っていた人物が一人いたのを見落としていた。またつかめないのはその理由だ。首都でのあの運命の日の後、私は先入観に迷わされることがあってはならないと自分に誓った。だがまたも恥をさらしてしまった。今夜のところはこれ以上何もできないだろう。朝になったらマドモアゼル・エリザベスに話をしなければならない。それに備えて多少でも頭を休ませなければ。なんで、なんでエリザベス？なんでエリザベス？どっからエリザベス出てきたの？一体何事だ？実に想像し、3階で象が足踏みでもしているのか。よしこちゃん、真上から聞こえてくるようだが倉庫の物音なのか。よしこが暴れているのか。どうしたんだ？どっから行くんだ？よしこが暴れてたらどうしよう。パオーンつってどっから行くん？行けた。なんでこんなちっちゃな部屋なのに私さ、あれになる？何？あれ。何？どうした？ここどこ？誰の部屋？大丈夫？何？どこ？今のどこ？ちょっと待って、どこ？誰の部屋？誰の部屋？どこ？誰の部屋？誰んち？マダム・バンデンボッシュ？全然違うな。カサンドラだったこれ。あれ、誰の部屋？あれ、なんか、少佐違うな。なんか、こっちか。物置？何してんの？ムッシュ・スターリングがこんなところで真夜中に何をドタバタしてんだろう。何してんの？アーチボルトが真夜中に起きて想像しく何かをしている。彼が何かを企んでいるか調べなければ。アーチボルト君、君は一体何をしているのかね。
Monsieur Starling. Oh, detective. I was just...
Please, I eagerly await to hear what reason you give for being in the storage room at this hour.
本当ですよ。
A butler's job is never.
I am no fool, monsieur. You have spun enough stories this weekend.
Honestly, Detective, you don't trust anyone.
And with good reason.
私の忍耐にも限界があります。ここで何をしていたのですか？
I've been thinking about my time with the family.
はい。
I often think on fond memories, but it does not take me to a storage room in the middle of the night.
I'm losing my
There are
way.
many memories held within these walls. I just wanted to see them again.
Why? ムッシュ・スターリンがまるで近々この部屋を去るような言い方だな。あなたもマドモアゼル・レハナもエリザベスさんを助けるために刑務所に入れられる危険を冒したと。
You never let on. How long have you known it was her?
Monsieur, I am Detective Hercule Poirot. I only show my hand when I deem it necessary.
You will be taking her away then.
She will stand trial for what she has done.
But you don't know the full story. She is just a servant in this house. If she is arrested, that will be the end for her.
でも殺したでしょ？
If Mademoiselle was only protecting herself, as you both have claimed, she will surely be found innocent.
ここの家具を動かしていたの音が聞こえましたが？
I didn't realize the noise I was making.
Obviously. Were you preoccupied looking for another of the Major's medals?
Of course not. I already explained.
No, monsieur. You attempted to dupe me again into believing one of your stories.
Please, Detective. I know you know how it ended up in my possession. I was just trying to get some extra money together to send home. I can't lose this job. If Lady Van den Bosch found out...
Theft of a medal would be the very least of your problems.
あなたがやってることは配信と立場の悪用ばかりです。
Deceive? I'm sorry that I lied to you about the medal.
謝って済む問題じゃありません。これほどはっきり言われてるのに、ムッシュ・スターリンが同日自分としたことを認めようとしない。
Would you care to explain the fake telephone call? It was purely for my benefit, no?
Why would I fake a telephone call?
The same reason that Mademoiselle Rihanna dressed in the Major's jacket in the snow, to allow not only the guests but me to believe the Major was still alive.
I didn't kill him, Detective.
I know, monsieur. But I also know that you helped the one that did to cover their tracks.
It wasn't like that. We were just trying to help. She had no part in it.
あなたがここで何をしていたのかまだ伺ってませんでしたね。
The Major's military storage box.
The one that stored his medals.
Amongst other things, yes.
And those other things are?
I had to protect her. If you found it when searching the study, you would have carted her off then and there.
Whatever it is you have hidden, it will not remain that way for much longer.
ムッシュ・スターリンが明らかに何かを隠している。はっきりとしない彼の言葉を当てにせず、私自身で突き止めるべきだ。
I need a moment.
何を隠してたんだ。間違えた。
Huh.
君、何を隠そうとしていたんだね。人形？ この聖人形がここにあるんだろう。人形？君人形隠そうとしてたの？あ、こっちか。やだ。アーチェボルトは殺人にマンデンボッシュの秘密は隠し部屋にあるかもしれない。屋敷を去るようだ。取り外された聖人像。 いろいろと隠し事はある。隠蔽工作を始めたのはやっぱりここじゃないですか。
Order and method.
違うの
That is the way to.
うってつけの場所はどこだろう。隠し部屋
I must take a different
違
approach.
うの？なんで金のために隠蔽工作を始めた。
This will not get me.
ダメだ。月バカ。取り外された聖人像。これかよ。
Another success.
取り外された像がこの部屋の入り口が関係しているかもしれない。それならアーチボルトがいたことの説明がつく。倉庫の中から隠し部屋にアクセスできるんだろうか。なるほど。こっから隠してなんだよ。
Some would say a lucky get.
アーチボルトは隠し部屋に証拠品を隠したに違いない。隠し部屋は倉庫のどっかにあるだろう。物置を調べちゃうからな。ここじゃんの。隠し部屋か。この屋敷にはまだ見つかってない部屋があるようだな。少佐の軍用サービスボックス、中には手紙と記念品が若干入っている。若干数、見ないんかい。軍用ナイフ、高級感のある見た目のナイフ、少佐の持ち物のようだ。これで殺したんかい。手紙、亡くなった子爵の遺言状。彼は本当にアンジェリンを愛していたようだ。遺言状宣言。私エドウィン・バンデンボッシュ子爵は健全な精神状態にあることを宣言します。本遺言状は不要な影響や強要なく私の意思を示すものである。第1項、私が死亡した場合、本遺言状をもって我が妻カサンドラ・バンデンボッシュの遺言執行人に任命し、バンデンボッシュの名において保有されている遺産を我が娘アンジェリン・バンデンボッシュに譲るものとする。未払いの債務、私の病気の治療費用、葬儀費用および管理費はベルギー国立銀行のバンデンボッシュ家の口座から支払われる。我が娘アンジェリンへ、君は私の自慢の種で、空に一番明るく輝いている星だ。君のその輝きをひとときたりとも曇らせないでほしい。我が妻カサンドラへ、長い歳月を一緒に過ごしてくれてありがとう。私たちは笑い、愛し、手を取り合い、何より大切な宝物をこの世に送り出した。君ならアンジェリンを守り、機会と希望に満ちた未来を用意してあげられることと思う。エドウィン・バンデンボッシュ子爵だって。種だっていうのちょっとどうなの。高価そうなら見た目のライター、残念ながら戦場に持ち出されたことがあるようだ。戦場？さあ、我が輩の脳細胞よ、この謎について分かったことがあるはずだ。ピッピーン。よく使われてる。よく使われてるってことはさ、血の汚れ。軍用ナイフ、バラの刻印。高価なライターはさ、あいつが使ってたんだろう。あの人。あれ、あの人誰だっけ。戦時中の地図。一般的な軍用収納庫。空の水筒赤いシンボル。戦時中のものらしき傷がついている。 他の何か。これはバラのやつ。
What a revelation!
このライターは少佐の持ち物だろう。陸軍のシンボルからほぼ間違いないが、これと同じものを持っていなかっただろうか。軍用のライター。軍用のライター。軍用のライター。軍用のライター持ってたっけ？軍用のライター？軍用のライターは、謎のシンボル。軍隊のライターは、もう持ってなかっただろうか。これボックスに入ってたか。戦時中の少佐のライター
Magnifique.
軍用収納箱に入っていたライターは間違いなく少佐のものだ。つまり片方は少佐のものではない。じゃあ誰の？アーチボルト。アーチボルト？アーチボルト、お前誰の持ってきたん？へいへいへい。
There is no use lying anymore.
昨日庭を調べたところ、少佐のものと思われるライターを発見しましたね。
He always had his regiment lighter that he received in the war on his person.
And yet, it was not his regiment emblem that was engraved on it.
My father's. It must have fallen out of my pocket. You still have it, detective.
本当ですか？
Monsieur, you have stashed evidence, manipulated a crime scene, obscured my investigation, and yet it is a lighter that you worry about most?
本当ですよ。
If it is my path to end up behind bars for what I have done, so be it. It is Elizabeth that you cannot allow to be locked up without the truth being told.
じゃあ話しなさいよ。
I have heard how you fought for that young maid before. Florette, is it? I only ask that you do the same for Elizabeth.
あの事件とは深刻さがまるで違う。だが、マドモアゼル・エリザベスが法廷に立つまでもなく、彼女が権力者や社会的地位の高い者から同じような仕打ちを受けるであろうことは想像がつく。私は法の番人として正義と公正を守ると誓ったのだ。マドモアゼルも他の容疑者と同じく裁判の前に自分の無実を証明する機会を与えなければいけない。
I need a moment.
庭にあったライターはアーチボルトのものだ。それにしちゃよく使われてたとか。
I must act on thought and fact.
はい、すいません。ごめんなさい。間違えました。それにしちゃ謎のシンボルがあるの。
Is there something I am...
あ、すいません。間違えました。はい、すいませんね。ごめんなさいね。アーチボルトは庭にいたんだよ。何これ開いたとは。そうなんだよ。そう。庭開けっぱなしのそのまんまになってたんだよ。なんで？なんでだろう。ここ？
Come, my little grey cells.
違うのか。アーチボルトは庭からか。
I should not be surprised.
私が見つけたのはアーチボルトのライダーだけだった。ということは、彼は他の何かを回収していたのだ。アーチボルトは庭で回収したのだろうか。庭で落とした何かを回収した。庭で何を落としたの？ナイフか。
I cannot see the logic.
ナイフじゃないのか。凶器を回収するんじゃないのか、普通は。凶器じゃないのか。血の汚れた軍用ナイフ。
Order and method. That is the way.
あれ？ 普通凶器じゃないの？凶器回収しなくていいの？ライターじゃないよね。え？身を守るための攻撃。
This will not get me
ああ、もうだって何だって何？釈の意志、マダムは後見人。ナイフはなくなっている。ナイフかもしれないでしょ。ナイフ、血の汚れか。
The pieces of the
凶器を見つけた。エリザベスは書斎でこれを使ったに違いない。アーチボルト、アーチボルト、ちょっとナイフなんでしょ。
There is no use lying anymore.
行方不明の凶器ですが。
You found it.
Even the secret area that has been created here is not concealed enough to stop Detective Hercule Poirot.
I couldn't just leave it at the scene for you to find.
The Major was killed by his own knife. The knife that protected his life during the war would eventually be the one that ended it.
It was in his holster when he attacked her. He had hold of her arm. What else was she meant to use to get him off of her?
少佐がみすみすナイフを取られてしまうとは思えない。彼女の手の届く範囲にナイフがあったのだろう。彼女の言う少佐に襲われたという部分は事実のようだ。
She didn't plan any of it, Detective. She was only defending herself.
That is what Mademoiselle told you?
She did, and I believe her. You think you knew the Major, but you had no idea. He was a monster and had more secrets than all of us combined.
That may be true, but that does not excuse what she has done.
Put yourself in her shoes for a minute. If a man like that had attacked me the way he did Lizzie, I would have done a lot worse to him.
マドモアゼル・エリザベスは自分は少佐に襲われたのだとムッシュ・スターリングに伝えている。でっち上げの可能性もなくはないが、彼女に殺人などという真似はできるとは思えない。
I need a moment.
多分確かにそうよね。少佐とエリザベスを襲ったと言ってんでしょ。この辺全然違うな。身を守るための攻撃。ここら辺？
Is there something I...
身を守るための攻撃だったから隠蔽工作した。
I must act on thought and fact.
身を守るための攻撃だったからわかんない。よく使われてる。
I must take a different...
わかんないよ。なんでだよ。窓から回収した何をこれを
Things are beginning...
アーチボルトは窓から凶器を落とした上で回収し、その後で隠し部屋に隠していた。アーチボルト、アーチボルト、アーチボルト、アーチボルト。
There is no use lying anymore.
あの晩私が庭で見たのはあなたですね。
When you asked me yesterday about seeing someone out there,
That does not explain what you were doing out there.
When Lizzie took me to the study, the knife was still in the Major's chest, and I knew I had to get rid of it. I dropped it out of the window, knowing no one would be going outside. It was fine for the time being, but I couldn't risk it being found when the snow melted.
So you collected it under the cover of darkness and stowed it away in here where you thought no one would find it.
After your questioning in the pantry, I knew you were onto something, and I couldn't leave it here.
And where did you plan on moving it to?
Honestly, I don't know.
彼は証拠品を回収して隠し、エリザベスを守ろうとした。よほどエリザベスを法の裁きから守りたかったに違いない。何なの？もう一回あってこと？
There is no use lying anymore.
最後の質問です。動機は何ですか？
Why what? Why I would risk everything to help Lizzie?
そうですよ。
Exactement.
Because she is family. If you were in that position, you would do the same.
何があったの？
I can assure you, monsieur, that I would not.
本当？
Then perhaps that says something about you, detective. I would do anything for her. For any of my staff.
Even if it means crossing the boundaries of the law.
Depends on だね。
Without question.
ムッシュ・スターリングの家族とみなしたものをどこまでも守ろうとする姿勢は称賛に値する。だが無実のものを守るために施行された法を破ることまでするとあっては見過ごすわけにはいかない。屋敷のご婦人たちの朝のお勤めが終わったらマドモアゼル・レハナとあなたは使用人の宿舎で待っていてください。
Aye, detective. But please, you have to help Lizzie. It was all an accident. She doesn't deserve to spend the rest of her days behind bars because of that man.
If she is put behind bars, it is because that is what the courts have decided upon.
事故だったの？
Detective, you can't be so cruel.
It is not cruelty, monsieur. It is the law.
さらに様々なことが明らかになった。私の頭はムッシュグレーのチョコレートショップと同じぐらい目まぐるしく働いている。全然例えがわかんない。なぜエリザベスは少佐を殺したのか、推理に必要なパズルのピースは全て揃った。今こそ私のささやかな灰色のノーサブを使って絶対を求めるべきだ。イエイ！隠し部屋で見つけた文章に目を通していると、エリザベスが少佐を殺した理由の辻褄が合ってくる？エリザベスが犯人である。ルークはストライキ。エルネストは少佐にかなりの政治的支援をしていた。エルネスト。少佐は金銭的にまずい状況にあった。から、アンジェリン。
Come, my little Graysons.
マダムは後見人だから。
I must take a different approach.
愛してたのか。愛してたんだよね。不名誉状態になってた。年金を受け取ってない。これか？
Things are beginning to be...
少佐は金銭的に困窮していた。そのせいで収入源が必要だったに違いない。少佐は困った時に誰に頼ったんだろうか。良い稼ぎを欲しがってたんでしょ？良い稼ぎを欲しがっていた。 困った時にはマダムじゃな
I
い。
cannot see the lo-
あれ困った時にはアンジェリン
Is there something I am not?
違うの？地元で金を払っていたからのエルネストエルネストだね。
Some would say a lucky.
少佐は仕事を頓挫させるわけにいかなかった。それだけが確実に金を手に入れる方法だったからだ。仕事を完了させるために彼に何ができただろうか。少佐は仕事を成功させる必要があったから警備隊を先にしたのだ。
Another sex.
確実に支払いを受け取るため少佐はストライキへの攻撃に命じざるを得なかった。少佐が攻撃を命じた結果として何が起こっただろうか。人が死んだよね。これでルークが死んじゃったんだよね。
Magnifique.
純然たる欲から出た少佐の行動は残念ながらルークへの死へとつながった。この事件で最も影響を受けたのは誰だろうか。ルーク、もしかしてルークと恋人だった？
What a revelation.
エリザベスは他の誰よりも多く失ったのかもしれない。彼女は復讐を望んでいた可能性がある。ってことだよね。そういうことか。ということはルークとルークかな。
Come, my little grey cells. We must.
攻撃を命じたから。
I must act.
違うの？ちょっと待って。捕虜を殺していた。Hi, Skip Johnson. Hello. Best.
Order and method.
あーがない。こんなんじゃないの。こうなのか。
The pieces are.
この情報が公になれば彼の名声は破綻していただろう。脅迫のネタとして十分だ。エリザベスは復讐に燃える人間には見えない。だが全ての証拠は彼女が愛するルークのために復讐を企てたんだと示している。なるほどね。マドモアゼル・エリザベスを問い詰めるとなれば万全の状態であらねばならない。この灰色の脳細胞には油断なく働いてもらわねば、これで少し遊んでおくべきだろう。寝不足を嘆いてる場合ではない。マドモアゼル・エリザベスを取り出さなくては。何があったのか真実を明らかにすることを祈ろう。
Detective Poirot, I'm glad you're awake.
Bonjour, mademoiselle. It has certainly not been a night of peaceful sleep. There is something that we must discuss.
悲しいな
Please,
これ。
Detective, I'm not sure I can take any more surprises like last night.
I'm afraid this may be the most upsetting of them all.
そうだろうね。
You have found Felix's killer, haven't you?
I have. And the guilty party will certainly come as a shock.
マドモアゼルにお伝えするのは気が進まないのですが。
Detective, please.
It was Mademoiselle Elizabeth that was back.
You must be mistaken. Elizabeth could not do such a thing.
I assure you I am not. It is something I spent much of last night deliberating. When you spoke of the telephone lines being out of order, it made me question the conversation I thought I had heard Monsieur Sterling make with the Major before connecting the call to him.
But it hasn't been working all weekend.
Exactement, mademoiselle. That is when I knew I had once again been lied to.
はあ、ムッシュ・スターリングとマドモアゼル・レハナのお話を伺いに行く途中でマドモアゼル・エリザベスにお会いしました。
She was meant to be resting in the staff quarters. She has not been well.
I am afraid that was yet another lie, orchestrated to keep her from incriminating herself.
Why would you think that, Detective?
I only managed a few words with her before we were quite abruptly interrupted by Monsieur Sterling.
I must admit, he has a habit of speaking over the other staff.
It was much more than merely disturbing our conversation. It was done with the intention to prevent Mademoiselle saying something that she should not.
So, Elizabeth killed Felix, and then Archibald helped her cover it up?
In its simplest form, oui. I have heard it directly from the horse's mouth.
悲しいな。
You have spoken with Elizabeth already? Did she admit to it?
Not Elizabeth, but Monsieur Sterling.
昨晩倉庫から大変な騒が聞こえたのですが目が覚めませんでしたか？
I wasn't. What were you doing in there, Detective?
It was Monsieur Sterling that I found in there. I was taken by some surprise to hear anyone awake at that hour.
What on earth was he doing?
He claimed he was merely reminiscing of his time with the family.
You don't believe him.
It did not take long for me to uncover the truth of why he was there and the location of the Major's murder weapon.
倉庫に隠し部屋があることをご存知でしたか？
Hidden area?
A room that held all of the Major's secrets.
I had no idea. Did you discover the reason for his blackmail?
I did. Were you aware he was dishonorably discharged from the army?
Dishonorably? What does that mean?
マドモアゼルには真実を隠さずにおくか、少佐の以前の行動についてはできる限り配慮して伝えるようにしよう。ムッシュ・サガリアが戦時中のことで苦しんでいるのはご存知ですよね。
Yes, Gideon told me about the
ああ、
conversation
パンダ
you
に
had.
甘い。
It is really quite upsetting.
Zachariah was adamant of the Major's cruelty during the war, but the extent was not known until now. He killed a number of prisoners, men that were friends of Zachariah.
Surely not. He would not do such a thing. They must have been trying to escape.
I am afraid not. They were in fact unarmed.
Yes, French accent, English.
Oh, Detective.
It is the reason he was discharged, denied his military pension, and I believe the reason he fled England.
He had been such an important part of my life for so long, but I feel like I hardly knew him.
ムッシュ・スターリングはマドモアゼル・エリザベスは無実だと強く主張しています。
Innocence? You said it was she that killed him.
It was her hand that held the knife, but he was quite insistent it happened in self-defense.
In all of the years I have known her, she has barely even raised her voice. I cannot...
The whole truth cannot be known until Mademoiselle Elizabeth has told her story.
彼女の人柄のせいで事件に関わっているとはとても思えなかったが、それは私だけではなかったようだ。マドモアゼル・エリザベスのお話を伺う時が来ました。
Will you allow me to be present?
I think that is an excellent idea. I hope your presence will calm her and will perhaps allow her to speak more freely.
Please, Detective, I know she has done a terrible thing, but I beg of you to give her the time to explain herself.
I will offer Mademoiselle Elizabeth the fair trial that she deserves, as I would with any suspect.
Thank you, Detective Poirot.
Would you bring Mademoiselle Elizabeth to the study, where we will not be disturbed?
Of course, I'll find her immediately.
これわかるのか。マドモアゼル・エリザベスと少佐の間に起こった出来事については、ムッシュ・スターリングからすでに聞いた通りだろう。少佐がエリザベスさんを襲い、なんで突然さんがつくんだろう。命の危険を感じさせるほどに追い詰めていなければ、彼女があのような真似をしなかったに違いない。彼女の話に真実に耳を傾けよう。彼女が受ける罰についての話はその後でいい。Hi Diego! Hola!
Mademoiselle Elizabeth, merci for joining us.
Miss Angeline said you requested to see me urgently.
We have some serious matters to discuss, and I would like to waste no further time.
Oh, yes, Detective.
ご気分はいかがですか、マドモアゼル?
Still not quite myself.
I was surprised when Monsieur Sterling hurried you to assist Madame Vandenbosch last night.
I should not have avoided my duties for so long. The house does not stop because I'm feeling a little under the weather.
That is true, but you cannot be expected to complete all your tasks if you are not in the right frame of mind.
Honestly, Detective, it was best for me to not sit and wallow anymore.
この週末の捜査では実にいろいろな落とし穴がありました。
Have you been able to uncover who the blackmailer is?
The blackmailer's identity has been established, and they will pay the price for their crimes.
Wonderful news, Detective. You can put it all behind you now. You must be thrilled.
I would not say thrilled, knowing that such a close friend has betrayed us.
Mademoiselle is correct. What I have learned over this weekend is that people are not always as they appear. While they may give an impression of being a friend or ally, they can in fact be something completely different.
And, what of the Major's killer?
Well, Mademoiselle, that is why I have asked you here now.
少佐はどう思っていたかすべての客人に聞きました。同じ質問をあなたにしたいと思います。
I'm not quite sure what you want me to say, Detective.
Your honest opinion is all I ask, and, s'il te plaît, do not hold back. No one else felt it necessary.
We only spoke when there was something in the house to be done. We did not speak of interests or pastimes.
You knew of his work with Monsieur de Silva?
I only know what is required of me to know, and that is very little.
But you were aware of his work as security at Monsieur de Silva's factory.
I was.
The factory your beloved Luke worked at, before he was cruelly taken from this world.
Yes, Detective.
ルークはストライキにただ参加していたのではなく最前線にいたのですね。
Yes, that is where he spent his last moments. Standing shoulder to shoulder with his fellow workers.
The resulting riots were a terrible tragedy, one that I hope we will not have to see or experience again. Something that could have been avoided had the Major and his team done what was required of them.
Nobody deserved to die that day. Not my Luke.
彼の死は少佐のせいだと思いますか?
Detective, what kind of question is that?
It is a straightforward one.
He...
Mademoiselle, if there is something you wish to tell me, now is that time.
I'm sorry, Detective, I just don't know how to answer it.
Let us consider what we know of the Major. He fronted the militia that attacked the workers at the strike. You were aware of this? You finally had someone to blame for Luke's death. Someone conveniently located in the same house, alone in his study.
No, Detective. It wasn't like that.
Tell me what happened with the Major on the evening of his death.
I was only in here trying to prove what I heard Mr. Beckers say. I was going to report him, I swear. Miss Angeline, you believe me, don't you?
I want to. I am still trying to understand it all myself. Why don't you start from the beginning?
I was delivering Miss Angeline's dress to her room when I heard Mr. Beckers arguing with the Major in his study. They were ever so loud. I thought the whole house would have been listening to what they were saying. Mr. Beckers was talking about the factory strikes and how it was the Major's fault. He told him that if he didn't own up to his crimes, he would go to the newspapers.
I cannot imagine the Major would have taken kindly to Monsieur Becker's threat.
He didn't. He called him some rather uncouth names before Mr. Beckers left and went downstairs. I made sure to keep out of sight. After the altercation between the Major and Master Gideon, you went to speak with him outside, and I thought I could look around his study without anyone knowing. I had to know for sure. If it was true, he deserved to be held accountable.
And did you find the proof you are looking for?
I found a payment from Mr. De Silva, but there was nothing incriminating about that. I was so nervous. I felt like my heart was beating out of my chest.
And then you saw the blackmail note.
I recognized the writing on the envelope. I couldn't believe it. How could he do such a thing to Angeline? To the family that had taken him in?
Common sense would determine the Major was another victim of the blackmailer.
If I'd have used common sense, I wouldn't have been snooping around alone in his study in the first place. I heard the footsteps in the hall, and before I could move, the Major was standing in front of me, demanding to know why I was going through his belongings without permission. I tried to come up with an excuse, but nothing came out, and when he saw the letter in my hand, it was like Dr. Jekyll turning into Mr. Hyde. I tried to move around him towards the door, but he hurled something towards me, and it crashed against the wall.
That would explain the damage to the wall.
I froze. I have never been so scared in all my life. I thought he was going to kill me there and then.
And you thought you would beat him to it?
Oh, Detective, you make it sound as though I had it all planned. He lunged forward and grabbed me by the arm. I tried to push him away, but he was too strong. If only you had seen the look in his eyes, I dared not even scream. I saw the sheath on his belt. I didn't know what else to do. I didn't want to hurt him, but he wouldn't let go of me.
So you took your opportunity to put an end to it all.
I just wanted to get him off me. I didn't want to hurt him. I reached for it and I jabbed it at him. His grip instantly loosened and I ran straight out the door and didn't look back.
You did not even look to see what state you had left him in?
She had just been attacked, Detective.
Oui, please. Continuez.
I ran down to the pantry looking for Rahana. She took one look at me and knew something was wrong. I explained to her what had happened and she went to find Archie. She said he would know what to do. We went back to the study and he was still lying there, motionless. Archie said that no one would believe me. That if someone like me killed someone like him, I would be sent straight to the gallows. He left the letter so you would find it. He said that if people knew what the Major was really like, then they wouldn't care what happened to him.
So I am to believe that it was Monsieur Sterling and Mademoiselle Rihanna that cleaned the scene and orchestrated a plan that included a fake telephone call and dressing as the Major so that he may be seen. You
I swear I had no idea that is what they had done. Archie just told me to stay out of sight. I am no master criminal.
Then Monsieur Sterling and Mademoiselle Rihanna will be charged for obstruction of justice and impeding my investigation.
Please, Detective, they were only trying to help me.
If they wished to help you, they should have brought all of this to my attention immediately instead of committing more illegal acts.
Surely you haven't forgotten what happened with Florette. She was only accused of stealing a bracelet. I killed a man.
It is a day I have not forgotten, mademoiselle. Even for a moment.
Without your help, I don't stand a chance. Please, Detective Poirot, You are the only one that can help me.
Oh, Elizabeth, why didn't you come to me?
I didn't think you would believe me. I felt so guilty. And when it was announced yesterday that he was a victim of the blackmailer, I wanted to tell you everything. I came to find you last night, Detective, but Archie stopped me. I'm sorry.
さあ、我が輩のノサブよ、この謎を解き明かそう。チャリラリラン。いや、いっぱい。エリザベス。なぜ？これでしょ？
This will not get me any closer to my goal.
違うの？身を守るための攻撃？じゃあ。
I must act on thought.
って言ってたじゃん、今。マーゴの動機？守るため？嘘じゃん？さっき言ってたじゃん。こっち？
I should not be surprised.
エリザベスの話はマーゴの主張を裏付けるものだ。少佐の死は身を守ろうとした攻撃が原因だった。ついに少佐が殺された事件を解決した。正直に言うとマドモアゼル・エリザベスが殺人犯だったと明かすのは気が進まないし、彼女がそのような行いをする羽目に陥ったことが残念でならない。ちょろろろ。で、どうすんの？我々。
Yes, of course, detective.
Pardonnez-moi for a moment.
どうすんの？
Yes, of course, detective.
じゃあ、あなたに話したんじゃないの？
Pardonnez-moi for a moment.
こっちの人ね。ベスね。
Oh, yes, detective.
少佐のナイフはどこに？
I don't know where it is.
If you have been honest with me until now, I ask that you continue.
I'm sorry, I really don't know. Archie dropped it out of the study window and he said he would deal with it. I couldn't bear to touch the thing.
ナイフは私が保管している。反応から判断して、マドモアゼルは本当にナイフの行方を知らないのだ。彼女は自分のしたことを隠すためにムッシュ・スターリングとマドモアゼル・リハナがどれだけ努力をしたのか知らないでいる。ムッシュ・スターリングが彼女のためなら何でもすると言ったのは嘘ではなかった。メルシー・マドモアゼル、シルブプレ。私の部屋でお待ちください。
Please, I was only protecting myself. I didn't want to hurt him. He just wouldn't let me go.
Oui, mademoiselle. I know.
でも殺人なんだよ。
Mademoiselle tells quite the harrowing story.
I cannot imagine the Major acting in such a way. But Elizabeth could not make up such a story.
After learning what I have about the Major's character this weekend, I would not question the lengths he would go to in order to keep his secret hidden. I know that you share a close bond with Mademoiselle Elizabeth, but you cannot allow your personal feelings to taint your belief of what took place.
She has committed a terrible crime, but she will live with that for the rest of her life. She's not a cold-blooded killer.
If what she says of the Major's attack is true, she acted in self-defense. And in the law's eyes, a crime has not been committed. I will do everything I can to make sure her story is heard and a fair trial is conducted.
マドモアゼル・エリザベスが供述した出来事はおそらく真実だろう。少佐は自分の下劣な秘密が明るみに出ると思い、激怒としたのだ。彼は若きマドモアゼルを襲い、彼女は自分を守るためあのような行動を取らざるを得なかった。マドモアゼル・エリザベスが自分で招いた危機ではあったが、少佐の命令によって命を奪われた彼女の恋人、そして他の労働者のため、正しいことをしようと義務感に駆られていたという点については、わずかながら称賛する気持ちもある。電話線が復旧したのなら、 捜査の結果を報告しなければならないが、積もった駅を考慮するとタイが到着するまでもうしばらくはかかるだろう。
Mademoiselle, it is time I addressed the house.
Are you sure? What will you say? What if they do not listen?
I can assure you, they will.
Elizabeth was right, though. She's just a servant. What if they...
Mademoiselle, when Detective Poirot speaks, they will listen. Would you ask the guests to convene in the library?
Of course. And what of the staff?
I have told Monsieur Starling to remain in the staff quarters with the others. When the authorities arrive, they shall be dealt with. You have been of great help to me throughout my investigation, and now that it is over, I have one final request.
You only need to ask.
While I am speaking with the guests in the library, would you watch over Mademoiselle Elizabeth in my room?
You don't think she will try and escape, do you?
In her position, I do not know what she might try. But I trust with you there, any potential ideas of such a thing will be squashed.
なるほどな。まだあるの？これで終わり？もう終わりだと思ってやってたのに、これで結末で終わり？
You have spent more time making us sit and wait for you than anything else.
Madame Vanden Bosch, if you think I have spent my time focused on anything besides uncovering the Major's killer, you are sorely mistaken.
I'm sure you will be eager to share your findings with us then.
All in good time, Madame. Firstly, to understand the truth of what has occurred this weekend, one must know the timeline of events that not only preceded the Major's death, but succeeded.
We are all well aware of what happened before, Detective. You can save your breath.
You are only aware of what the guilty parties wanted you to believe. But now I shall apprise you to the true events. The reason for us all being here, you know. The altercation between Monsieur Demir and the Major, you know. The body of Monsieur Hagen was found while we were all sat enjoying a most delicious meal. That you also know. But what was kept from us all was that his body lay on the study floor for far longer than was thought.
It was that servant. She found him.
S'il te plaît, monsieur. It was indeed young Inga that found the Major's body lying lifeless in the study.
So it was her.
Monsieur, I will not allow for any further interruptions. I return to the Major's body. If we are to believe the scene that we were presented with, the Major must have been killed during the first course of our meal, a meal that none of you left, even for a moment. Speaking in the evening, you all confirmed one another's alibis, and although there was doubt in the validity of some, I confirmed that they were indeed all true. What I could not understand was how a man came to be found dead, and every guest accounted for at the time of death. That is until I questioned the latter. Monsieur Beckers, I shall now allow you to speak. You saw the Major smoking a cigar in the snow. Is that true?
It is.
False. You saw what you are meant to see. Someone in the Major's coat standing outside, giving the illusion that the Major was still very much alive. Monsieur da Silva, on the afternoon of the Major's death, do you recall hearing a telephone ring?
Now that you mention it, I have not heard a single ring all weekend.
Correct. The telephone lines have been down for the duration of our stay, meaning the telephone call that was received and promptly directed to the Major's study was yet another act of trickery and deceit. But it did not end there. When I entered the study for the first time, it was obvious someone had already been there and falsified the scene to stage a burglary and clear away important evidence, including the murder weapon. What followed was an investigation that had already been hindered. But even those lengths were not enough to derail me for long.
I think we have all had enough of your self-praise, Detective. Perhaps you would like to tell us who killed him now?
Madame, as I'm sure you would expect, it is not as simple as that. What many of you do not know is the discussion that was had between the Major and Monsieur Beckers earlier that day.
What has that got to do with anything? I told you I didn't kill him.
That I know to be true. What you do not know is that it was not only his ears that heard your spoken words.
I hope you are not implying I had something to do with it.
No, madame, there was another. Mademoiselle Elisabeth. You are all aware that the Major was hired by Monsieur de Silva to front the security during the workers' strikes. What very few of you know is that it was the Major's order that instigated the vicious attacks on those unarmed men and resulted in numerous deaths, including Mademoiselle Elisabeth's fiancé, Luc. Monsieur Beckers confronted the Major, declaring that he was to hand himself in. That is what Mademoiselle Elisabeth overheard. Now, knowing the truth, she waited until the Major was away from his study. After he stepped outside following the confrontation with Monsieur Demir's fist, it looked to be the perfect opportunity, or so she thought. The Major returned and found her looking for the proof she required to hand him over to the authorities.
If the maid bumped him off, why hasn't she been arrested?
The events that followed in the study are not those of a cold-blooded murder, but one of a young girl that had no other option but to protect her own life.
Sounds to me, Detective, like you have taken a shine to this young girl and would rather protest her innocence than arrest her for murder, the crime she has committed.
Jeez, this is gonna make for a juicy story.
Mademoiselle, I ask you this. You have seen the Major's anger before, oui?
What if I have?
How do you think he would have reacted if someone was to find proof that he had committed a terrible act, and that if made public, would surely result in his incarceration? Exactement.
It is quite the story you have told, Detective, but all I have heard is that Elizabeth overheard a conversation blaming the Major for her fiancé's death, and she murdered him in revenge. A servant killing a man that is as revered as he was. She will face the noose.
I am not denying that a man has lost his life, but it is not the crime of murder that you all believe. While the Major did not deserve to die in such a way, it was his actions towards Mademoiselle Elisabeth that drove her to defend herself in any way she could. Mademoiselle Elisabeth will be punished, but we will let the law decide the severity of her punishment.
She has played you like a fiddle, Detective, acting the innocent victim. She will be arrested and hanged for her crime, like every other cold-blooded killer.
Here.
Give her what she deserves.
The girl has got to pay for what she's done.
小3の書斎での出来事はこれ以上ないほど明確に説明した。皆小3に抱いていた認識を彼が犯してきた恐ろしい罪と彼から受けてきた仕打ちを忘れてしまっている。この屋敷にいる人々ばっかマドマーゼル・エリザベスの判決に悪い影響を及ぼすことなどあってはならない。彼らの過去の行動こそがこの不幸な状況を生み、多くの命が失われた元凶なのだと理解させてやる必要がある。労働者のストライキだけではなく、その結果起こった複数の暴動にも全員が関わっていることを思い出してやるべきだ。
Those of you that are calling for the hanging of Mademoiselle Elisabeth, have you forgotten the roles you played? Your actions have been far from innocent.
Look, Detective, I see where you are going with this, but it's not going to work. So maybe the strikes were down to De Silva and Beckers. But don't try and drag me into their mistakes.
Mademoiselle Conrad, if you are so confident of your innocence, perhaps we should begin with you.
質問、おそらくもっと攻撃な姿勢。あなたは特ダネのためならほぼどんなことでもするのでしょ、ネスパ。
You don't need to imply it's only me that does. Ask any of my journalists, they'll say the same.
Even if in the process people are hurt? You knew the situation surrounding the strikes, and only sought to swell the anger in people and create further chaos. Mademoiselle, you so often have something to say. Now is not the time for silence.
You really are delusional. Maybe you should just keep your theories and claims to yourself.
利益のために他者の命を犠牲にするような業界に詳しくなるつもりはありませんので。
Talking of sacrificing lives, have you forgotten what you have done?
あなたは他者が命を落とすのを傍観し、その背中を堂々と踏みつけて歩いています。
Look, it's...
Mademoiselle, I do not have time for your excuses. Do you wish to state your direct involvement, or should I?
It's not... Okay, fine. Yes, the story was going nowhere. There was a deal on the table, and it was going to be done and dusted. Everything you said is true. I wanted the story. The scoop that would have blown the others out of the water. I didn't think you had this side in you. I can see now why Angeline asked for you personally. You're not like other cops. It's clear it's the law and doing the right thing through and through with you.
We can't just forget what that girl has done. It's not Jackie's fault, or any of ours, that she decided to do what she did.
Monsieur Beckers, you are the last person I expected to defend Mademoiselle Conrad. We talked only last night, and correct me if I am wrong, but you have already declared the role you played. To me?
Yes, we talked. It's just not fair of you to attack Jackie like that, putting words in her mouth until she succumbs to your plan.
私的な問題を公にさせるのは嫌かもしれないが、彼を納得させるためにはそれも仕方がない。素直に。あなたは組合のリーダーでありながら、組合の取引に全く無関係の人物に惑わされたのですよ。
Detective, I'm afraid you're misunderstood. That is not how it was. It was not my intention for things to escalate as they did. I could not have predicted that would happen. Jackie was documenting everything to do with the strikes. She wanted our story to be heard and wanted to know how I was handling the negotiations.
And they were handled by yourself?
Naturally. If I cannot handle simple negotiations, I am not fit to be in the position I am in.
なんだっけ殺しやるの。あなたは自分の仕事をとても誇りに思っている方です。ストライキ中に下した決断も誇ることができるのですか？
I was only pushing for what my men deserved, what they needed. Hindsight is a wonderful thing, Detective. Surely you must know that. Nothing is ever simple, Detective. I'm sure you understand that better than anyone.
あなたは声を上げられない人々のために戦ってきた方でしょう。また一人社会の差別に負けてしまう方が出ることを受け入れるのですか？
You're right, Detective. I have tried so hard to deny my part, but I know only too well that my decisions led to the death of those men. I know I cannot excuse what I've done. I just want you all to know that I am not a hateful or malicious man. I only wanted to prove that I was the right man. I have lived in other shadows for so long. I thought I would be able to finally step into the light and be the one that everyone remembered, not forgot. Monsieur da Silva offered me a deal and I turned it down. I thought I was doing right by the workers, but it was only myself I was thinking about.
What more proof do you need? He said it himself. I made a generous offer to reach a resolution, and he turned his nose up at it.
It was not that simple, though. An offer was made, but Monsieur Beckers and the workers would never have been forced into that position had their working conditions been satisfactory to begin with.
This is outrageous! Do you plan on blaming everyone for doing their jobs? I suppose.
自分の過ちをもう一度認めてもらう必要。私的な会話だった。あれは第三者がいない私的な会話だった。彼が他の客人の前で口を開いてくれるとは思えない。自分の過ちをもう一度認めてもらう必要があるだろう。あなたがただ仕事をこなし、労働者を公平に扱っていたのなら、ストライキについて話すこともなかったでしょう。
It may be a big deal to you, but I am used to work as not being happy with something.
ちょっと上から目
And
線。
most of the time, that unhappiness is directed at me. When you're in charge of your own factory, you'll understand. I handle the situation the best I could. If you think otherwise, maybe you have proved us all right that you aren't the great detective you claim to be.
秘密を隠そうとする欲望は強力ですが、あなたの欲望は簡単にくじけそうですが。
Do your worst, detective. I have spent years building my name, my reputation. This is all just a feeble attempt to strike some kind of fear into me.
Monsieur da Silva, you seem to have forgotten our previous conversations.
I recall them just fine, thank you. A police officer trying to manipulate facts to fit his own agenda. Shocking.
意図があろうとなかろうと、あなたが少佐と交わした取り決めが暴動の火種となったのです。
Do you really think this is the first time blame has fallen at my feet? Although I don't think I've seen someone try so hard before to even convince themselves of what they are saying.
Have you not learnt enough already from having your factories closed? If you have any hope to return to normality, you must admit your faults and accept the repercussions.
Apparently anyone can become a detective now. I really don't know how you gained your title.
Through order and...
Order? There's no order in beating down who you consider suspects until they have no other option but to admit something, guilty or not.
Monsieur da Silva, you have stood steadfast, and your opinion on your involvement has not wavered.
Detective, you would do well not to anger my friends.
It was not my intention. I only want those responsible to be held accountable for their actions. The Major's death does not fall on one person alone. Does your position on Mademoiselle Elizabeth's guilt remain the same?
Even after all your attempts, Detective, Felix was still murdered. Self-defense or not, she chose to hide what she had done because she knew what she had done was wrong. And she will be punished for it.
It was not choice to hide anything, madame. If in her position, I ask, what would you have done? The Major has already furiously thrown an object at you, barely missing your head, and now has hold of your arm.
I wouldn't have driven a knife into him, that I can tell you for sure. She is no fool. She intended to kill, not to defend.
少佐の行動が彼女の対応の招いたのだと納得させなければならない。あなたは少佐に一番親しかった方です。彼の気性の荒さを知らなかったはずはない。
Quite presumptuous of you to assume violence is in his nature.
Putting my own feelings towards the Major aside, he was not an honorable man, at least at some time in his life. He must have been for you to allow him in your house for so many years. So, even you confirm he had a history of aggression.
少佐は英国陸軍から不名誉除隊の処分を受けてますね。その理由はご存知ですか？
I'm sure that is none of my business.
The Major shot and killed a number of unarmed prisoners as they were bound and terrified, posing no threat. His actions are unforgivable and should not be defended by anyone.
You judge him so harshly, but I return the question. What would... He had made mistakes. I will not deny that. In those moments when a decision had to be made, it fell to him, and he did what he saw fit.
へえ。あなたが少佐から受けた虐待はどうです？あれは正しい行いでしたか？
S'il te plaît, madame. I ask that you consider everything you know of the Major carefully.
He was not always like that.
まあ、ブレイクしな
The
かった。
man that I called a friend would never have done what he has. I cannot allow another innocent person to be punished for his vicious and barbarous behavior.
You have seen the Major act in a similar manner as I described before, haven't you? What
You have convinced me that I am wrong, in both my opinion on Elizabeth's punishment and in the friendships I keep.
Not when a potential crime has been committed, and I fear an innocent party may have been punished for it.
He was just a boy. I told him to stop, but he was like a wild animal.
The confrontation with Mademoiselle Elizabeth was not the first time he has come close to killing another.
It was following the officer's ball. A young man, no older than 16, stopped us on the street, begging for some change. Felix pushed him away, but he was persistent. He only wanted a few coins. Like a flash, Felix snapped and wouldn't let go of him. He would not stop punching him. I have never seen anything so brutal.
かわいそ
But he was never charged for the attack.
Felix called the captain at the station and said that the boy had tried to rob him, and he was merely defending himself.
う。いやね、暴力は。
The boy was thrown behind bars without a second thought. It,
And even after witnessing such a brutal assault, you still support him. You still believe that he had not attacked Elizabeth.
the days following, he showed no signs of remorse, no apology to him or to me. I blamed it on the amount he had had to drink. But when you began talking about him finding Elizabeth in his study,
あのおばちゃんも納
I
得して
somehow
るじゃ
knew
ん。
it had happened again.
Had you been open about the Major's temper, this could all have been avoided. When you tell the courts the truth, Mademoiselle Elizabeth's self-defense plea cannot be ignored.
Just when I thought I could not see a more spineless move.
Excuse me?
You allowed a bully and thug to remain in your house and endanger your family.
I'm sorry, Margot, but I am struggling to understand why you have involved yourself in this affair.
I'm surprised you can hear me way up there on that high horse of yours.
How dare you speak to me in that way? Who I decide to keep in my house is my decision and no one else's.
I can see that. Murderers, thieves, and extortionists are all acceptable, it seems.
お前が入れたんじゃん。
Countess, I have talked at length of the Major's death, but not the reason for my invitation in the first place. When I last gathered you all together, I spoke of a blackmail ring that was rife in the area, and then of the letter that the Major had received. Mademoiselle Angeline requested my help personally after she received such a letter threatening her family name. She felt I was the only one that could uncover the truth. And
Get on with it, detective. Who dared try and extort my family and then have the gall to allow me to welcome them into my home?
それはね。
if it was not for the honesty of a young servant, I would perhaps still be looking for the
For goodness sake, it was me.
Margot, how could you?
While it looked as though the Countess was helping the young women at the shelter, she was in fact only finding them positions of employment in wealthy homes to gather information on them and learn secrets that she would ultimately be able to use against them. Monsieur da Silva fell victim to her network of moles and was in turn blackmailed. It was quite the prosperous setup you had, knowing that they would not be prepared to lose their social standing if a secret was to find its way from where it had been hidden for so long.
That cannot be true, Margot. How could you do such a cruel thing?
That is rich, coming from you.
You are one of my oldest friends.
High and mighty, Madame van den Bosch. You think you can do what you wish when you wish it and there will be no repercussions. You are as bad as all of them.
あらららら。友情が崩れ去る。
If I do not get a straight answer out of you, I will march you to the police station myself.
I'm surprised it took the Major this long to start living with you. He must have been on the edge for some time.
How dare you speak to me like that? In my own home.
A home you share with the father of your daughter for so many years, and she still remains none the wiser.
You have no right.
Maman,
Angeline? Have you heard what she has admitted to? She is merely trying to make herself...
is what she says true? Felix, he was my father? That is the secret that the letter was talking about, isn't it? You told me that we had nothing to hide. Detective Poirot, were you aware of this?
Oui, mademoiselle. But it was not my place to repeat.
あ、バレちゃったや。
I don't understand. What about father?
Your mama betrayed the love of a good, honest man and played away behind his back and then kept it hidden for all these years like a lady of the night with her client list.
You will say no more. Angeline, I...
Did Felix know?
This is not an appropriate conversation.
He knew, dear girl. He knew the whole time. It is only dear Edwin that was blind to their deceit.
You will not talk of him like that. You will not talk of him at all.
If I don't, who will? You never deserved him. You don't even deserve the memory of him.
Countess, there is something that you still have not explained.
わあ。
What more is there for her to say?
How long were you in love with the Viscount for?
え
Margot?
えドロドロじゃん。
We were destined to be together.
え
And then you turned up. And I was all but forgotten about.
But you were nothing more than friends.
And you made sure of that, didn't you? From the day you arrived, it was all about what you wanted and what you had to do to get it.
Eh?
You didn't consider Edwin at all. He was just a purse to you.
I loved my husband, and I miss him every day.
Loved him enough to stray?
Both of you, no more.
Please, Angeline, let me explain.
Maman, I do not wish to hear anything else from you.
あ、そうなるよ
Not
ね。
even your own daughter wants to hear your lies anymore. Cassandra van den Bosch, all alone.
How dare you!
あら。昼ドラ並みだ。
While I feel a sense of satisfaction and pride in solving both cases, there is still a part of me that is reluctant to revel in triumph. I am content with the unmasking of Countess de Vos as the blackmailer, and knowing that she will pay for her crimes. But it is the justice for Mademoiselle Elizabeth that worries me. She will stand in a court of law, and I can only hope that they can see she acted in self-defense. I must trust that our legal system and justice will prevail, and a fair sentencing will be given. In protecting her own life, she took the life of another. Perhaps the guilt she must live with is a greater punishment than any sentence she can receive.
一番最後一番びっ
Countess
くり
de
した
Vos was taken from Nemozine House in cuffs and placed under arrest. Although she initially tried to plead her innocence, Inga, along with a number of other girls that the Countess had found employment for, came forward and made full statements. She was charged with 5 counts of blackmail and extortion and sent to a house of corrections, where she will have a new life to become accustomed to.
衝撃的
Monsieur Sterling and Mademoiselle Rihanna were also reprimanded for their participation. While they may not be facing time in prison, tampering with a crime scene and obstruction of a police investigation are certainly not something that houses and new employers will look positively
ま
on.
あそうだろうね
Mademoiselle Angeline finally became Madame Demire, and together they took up residence in England, where Monsieur Demire continues to support and fight for fairness and equality in London.
幸せ
I
な
am
やつ
happy to say that we have remained in contact, and Madame Demire has become a regular correspondent of mine. And the latest joyous news is that they are expecting a child of their own.
よかった
Madame van den Bosch showed compassion that I had not seen in her before. She stood in court and gave a truthful and genuine character reference of Elizabeth, as well as describing the major and the atrocious crimes he had committed. After Madame van den Bosch's secret was revealed to the world, her position in the social hierarchy was no more, disappearing in a moment. While she still resides in Belgium, I believe she has had to adapt to a far more modest way of life. A humbling experience for her, I am sure. Following her actions in the courtroom, Angeline believed that her maman still had a place in her life. Although they are on different sides of La Manche, they remain in contact. Mademoiselle Conrad left Nemozine House the same way she entered, confident in herself and audacious in her opinions. Her report of the Major's murder at the house and the surrounding blackmails became one of the most talked about stories of the year. While there were certain details of her own involvement that did not make it to print, she was really quite complimentary about the detective at the heart of the case. Monsieur de Silva tried to continue in his position as factory owner and business entrepreneur, but after his accounts and business dealings were investigated following the details of his blackmail being made public in Mademoiselle Conrad's article, his illustrious business empire began to crumble and is now facing an international corporate investigation. Monsieur Beckers stepped down from his position as union leader, accepting that he was no longer fit to represent the workforce that, in his words, he had let down on a scale of unmeasurable proportion. Although he is no longer the voice of the workers, he continues to support them from behind the scenes. Monsieur Zachariah and his brother made amends, and returning to his family home, and after sobering up, he was able to find the help that he
あよかっ
required.
たじゃん
I understand that he is now helping fellow soldiers with similar conditions. And Mademoiselle Elizabeth, she stood before a court, and while the proceedings were deemed controversial, the charges against her were dropped,
ああよかっ
and the
た
reasoning
ね
of
棄却
self-defense
され
was
た
accepted by the presiding judge. Madame van den Bosch's testimony, along with Mademoiselle Angeline's declaration of her good character, was enough to show that it was not in Elizabeth's
よか
nature
ったよ
to
かっ
act
た
in such a violent way. The abundance of evidence against the Major, and his violent and cruel nature, including his appalling acts during the strikes and the war, was more than enough to prove that Mademoiselle Elizabeth had no other option in that situation but to defend herself in any way that she could. With the new arrival of Madame and Monsieur Demire's child next year, they have agreed to give Elizabeth the opportunity to return home to England
あ、いいじゃん、
and
いい
take
じゃ
up a
ん。
position in their home
素晴ら
as
しい
nanny.。The death of Elizabeth's beloved Luke has been at the center of everything. Had those in positions to help not acted with only themselves in mind, perhaps he would still be alive today, and the Major would have paid the price for his own crimes in the eyes of the law, not at the blade of a knife. The blood of Major Felix Egan will remain on Elizabeth's hands, a stain that wherever she is and whatever she may do, she will never be able to wash clean. However, it will remain as a reminder to not only her, but all of us, of what we as human beings are capable of to protect ourselves. We all have something that may be considered shameful or sinful, and it is how we deal with it that shows our true character. Those involved in the riots, the workers' deaths, and the Major's killing believed themselves to be untouchable. Whether it was from their social standing or their confidence in themselves, they learned that everyone is accountable for their actions. There is no exemption because of the suit you wear or the money in your bank account. There is no price to a man's life. It cannot be bought or traded or discarded. No man is better than another, including Detective Hercule Poirot.
最後だけいいこと言った。最後だけいいこと言った。最後だけいいこと言った。終わったー。ありがとうございました。いや、ポアロはね、いつまでたってもハゲなかったね。ね長かったね。でも最後だけいいこと言ったポアロ。最後だけありがとうございます。ありがとうございます。これでね、この後はね、皆さんお待ちかねのね、お待ちかねのハゲになれるかわからないシャーロック・ホームズが待ってますのでね、ニューシャーロック・ホームズが待ってますのでね、またね、ハゲになれるかわかんないけど、楽しみにしてください。Detective Tukky solved the case. Thank you! そう、お後がよろしい。そう、来週からホームズなんだけど、私、ホームズシリーズ3本やってんですよ。で、4本目が、実は、ホームズになってから、1、2、3と来て、その、ホームズとしてやる前の、ビフォーのやつなんですよね。だから、もしかしたら、ハゲってない若いホームズ。若いホームズでヤングホームズをやっていきたいと思いますので、ぜひ期待しておいてください。ホームズシリーズめちゃめちゃ面白いんで、期待していただければと思います。ありがとう。手が触れないんだけど、今手がそう、時系列がシャーロック・ホームズとしてデビューする前っていう感じだから、ホームズと仲良しの人誰だっけ、ヒゲのおっさんも若いのだから、ホームズもめっちゃ若い時だから、髪の毛ふさふさしてますけど、そうそう、ホームズとして探偵業を立ち上げたばっかりの時ぐらいのかな。そう、ワトソンもだからすごい若いの。ワトソンがまだドクターだった時のだったと思うんだけど、だからすごい若い頃のシャーロック・ホームズが出てくると思いますので、ちょっと楽しみにしてね。新しいのが出てるじゃんと思ってワクワクしながら買いましたなので来週からはシャーロック・ホームズやっていきたいと思いますので、ぜひお楽しみにおいしょ、もう寝る時間だよ。もう終わったよ、寝る時間だよ。で、明日は何曜日？明日は水曜日なので、ちょっと待ってください。 8時からジャンタマの参加型して、12時じゃなくて10時からお歌の会しますので、ぜひよろしかったら遊びに来てくださいね。はい、よろしくお願いします。Thank you for coming to my live stream. See you next time or see you tomorrow, okay? Tomorrow I will play Budget Soul and singing stream, okay? はい、というわけで、ジャンタマ来る ?OK、待ってますよ。はい、それじゃあね、皆さん、見てくれてありがとうございます。Bubba Bear, have a good day! じゃあね、皆さん、手が動かん。またね、バイバイ。